When did you ever think we would open up the show with James Brown?
That's right. But hey, this is best part of the show right now is this song.
Yes. And it's not even Friday.
Well, that's right. No, I'm dancing. You put James Brown on any day, I dance. See if I can do that slide, right?
Yeah, I can slide in my chair, but we got to do like Peter. We got finger guns.
That's right, finger guns. Bang, bang.
I was listening to this while walking to the train after work today, and I had this on. Awesome. You know how much I wanted to start hitting people with finger guns for no reason?
Oh, God. I probably would have without even realizing it, you know?
It was a lot. I had a little bit of headache, and that's, I think, the only thing that stopped me.
Oh, man. Thank God for that headache, man. You don't want to be finger gunning people in broad daylight these days.
And there we go. Thank you, Alex. We hope he gets better, though, because that probably is definitely not what you want.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight on Granny's Peach Tea. We are at episode 37. 37, man, baby. 37.
We're almost 40. Dude, we've been doing this almost as many episodes as years we've been alive.
We're going to surpass it soon enough. It's going to get really weird. So... but thanks for joining us. As you can tell, we're opening up with a little James Brown, and we're doing our finger guns because we're talking about Spider-Man 3 tonight. Not because we're happy, excited about it, but we're excited to talk about it and share it with you, even though we know we're walking into a death trap. And it's okay.
You know, Sean Connery said in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. No, the last crusade, Sean, we are pilgrims in an unholy land. And we will be for the next month because it only gets worse after this, my friends.
But yeah, thanks for joining us, whether it's on the Facebook stream, if you're joining us on YouTube, if you're joining us on Instagram, if you're joining us on the audio-only version, wherever you found us, your podcast. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And on Twitter. If you joined us, we seem to be doing pretty good on Twitter. So
yeah, I check the Twitter numbers sometimes, and I'm like, wow, I don't even have 50 followers. So we got 50 views like after we dropped the episode. That's awesome.
And hopefully the finger guns get us a little bit more tonight.
That's right, 51, baby, bang bang.
Yeah, so we got a kind of a little bit of a lighter episode today. We don't have as many shows to discuss, but that's cool. Give us a little bit more time to do our deep dive into Spider-Man 3, and we'll also be talking about the what if Sam Raimi got to do Spider-Man 4, because there's not a lot of reports about that, but we went over some stuff, and we're going to share that with you. We shared the article from Collider, put together a good article early last year, ironically, and we posted it on our Facebook page, so check that out if you haven't.
But as my students say, Mister, who reads? Just listen to us break it down for you, man.
Exactly. We'll just tell you what it says, and it's all good. So, Jason, what's up, man? How you doing? What's going on?
I'm good. Good week. It's Wednesday. We're talking Spider-Man 3. We're unhassling the Hoff today. I'm excited about that. And let me get right into it, man, because you don't know who shows up in this episode of Baywatch Nights called Payback episode 13, but Mr. Geraldo Rivera himself is in this episode. Wow. And oh Lord, he's a bad actor. He's such a bad actor.
As to be assumed.
Yeah, I mean, and look up that's not a personal thing. I know, he's a liked or hated celebrity figure. That's not a judgment thing, but he's a terrible actor. But yeah, so this episode begins with a Baywatch-style booby run down the beach. Haven't seen that in Baywatch Nights before. And then we get a shower in a bikini. She's taking a shower in a bikini. And then bang, murder. She's dead.
I'm sure that happens often.
Often. How many times I let my boobies hang out while I run down the beach and wind up getting murdered? I mean, I couldn't tell you.
I shower in my bathing suit all the time.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Of course. I mean, look, the audience doesn't want to see me naked.
Oh, obviously.
And then, so, highlights. Angie Harmon gets champagne drunk on a booze cruise with Mitch, and there is tension. Ooh, they almost have the SEX in this episode.
Ooh.
What? So Hoff takes Angie Harmon back to his place, and, she passes out. Well, she doesn't pass out. She comes on to him, and she's like, come on, let's get this on. Let's do this. And then he, puts her to sleep, and she wakes up the next morning, of course, doesn't
he puts her to sleep?
Yeah,
like,
no.
You know, I pictured like Ted DiBiase in a sleeper hold or something like that.
So he gets her in that figure 4 leg lock, and he's like, "Go to sleep." No, but he gets her to go to bed, is what I meant.
Okay.
And she passes out, and he sleeps on the couch, and she wakes up the next morning, and his buddy is there. The I forget his name right now, but the third of their trio, and she of course thinks they had the sex, and she won't talk about it, and Mitch is just Mitch won't confirm or deny. He's just kind of messing with her, which, you know, but we all know Mitch ain't about to date rape Angie Harmon. That's not going down.
No, come on, that's the Hoff.
The Hoff doesn't date rape, my friends. That's a money back guarantee. Yeah, I think that's really all you need to know. Oh, no. There is one more thing. There's one more thing. It's the weirdest line in the episode. So Geraldo is the husband of a woman who is like the best mule, but she's like retired, and they need her to do one last job, so they kidnap her. And when they put a gun to Geraldo's head, and they chastise him for still buying extra crispy KFC, because he comes home with Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they go, "Hey, it's the '90s. Who the hell's still ordering that extra crispy KFC over here?" And I'm like, what is the obsession with chickens on this show?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. Like, why is there fried chicken popping up in multiple episodes? They're only in their first season.
This is only their first. We're only halfway. We're only 13 episodes into their first season. They only get 2 seasons.
Wow.
Let's see. The photographer finally shows up. The new guy who's been in the credits now for a while and not been there. Garner sucker punches a British soccer hooligan. Yeah. And Mitch slow-mo drives. He takes a case of C4 and he drives and he jumps out of the car and it goes over and explodes, and it was all in slow motion. Great episode. Like the
A-Team. Are you sure this isn't the A-Team that you watched?
I think, you know what I think what happened was Hoff was like, "Guys, do you remember a little show I was on called Knight Rider?" You know, and they were like, "Well, we got to get him in a car. Get this man in a car in slow motion." Good move.
I agree.
All right, the Hoff is unhassled.
Oh man, that is something special right there.
It's a special show, guys. Anyone still not on this, got to get on this show.
So we had a couple of tidbits we wanted to hit before we start to get into our CW stuff. So earlier today, Kevin Smith dropped the trailer for Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2. Because we found out that they only released the first part of it, and you know, when some people lost their minds and was like, "Oh, Masters of the Universe is woke." It's Kevin Smith killed Masters of the Universe. It's like, shut the hell up, you babies. Yeah. But no, we got the trailer for this, and as we predicted, because you know we have at least like an eighth of a brain, we could realize that He-Man is back to life.
Oh no! How did that happen?
Oh my god!
Do you mean the 2 most iconic characters on the show didn't remain dead the whole time?
I really thought that was going to happen. I mean, I really thought Teela was going to take over as He-Man, and she was going to go ahead and be like the master of the universe. So she was going to be the new He-Man. But to our complete shock, and I almost fell off my chair when I was watching the trailer, He-Man is back, and he is fighting Skeletor, and he's ready to kick people's ass.
He really is. Did you see? This is an awesome part there where he goes, "Oh, you think the sword is the conduit? The channels it. The sword is the conduit. I channel it." And he just like calls down Grayskull empty-handed, and he just becomes like Conan the Barbarian He-Man.
Yeah, he's like Savage He-Man, which I think they might be called, which I thought was awesome.
I did too.
Another great line in the trailer was when like somebody was like, "Oh, do you think?" They say something like, "Oh, do you think there was like a safe space?" And he's like, "Yeah, standing behind me." And you see all his like allies coming and all his boys coming. I'm like, dude, they're gonna start kicking some people's asses in this thing. And I couldn't help me think, but all the little crybabies that were like crying about the first half of it, I'm pretty sure they cut the trailer to sort of appease them, to be like, dude,
I think so.
This is what we have. This is what's happening. We also have a coherent story, where it looks like Teela is going to be the next sorcerer,
which is an awesome idea.
Yes, I like it.
Because she's the sorceress's daughter in canon.
Yes. Again, things that we are not totally shocked about,
Right.
but just look awesome. And like Skeletor is running around, and he's got he's the master of the universe. He's got the whole big H, which I think is great. Oh man, I am really excited about it. Where it drops like the same time Hawkeye does.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
we got a lot we got a lot. And you know what has to happen, since we're covering more He-Man, is we got to delve back into the old the old show and remind people of the source material, lest we don't get our balls in a tizzy about the sacred source material. Let us remember what this comes from. So we'll be talking about at least 1 or 2 episodes of the old show.
I agree. Why not? We should chat about. We don't have another movie to really talk about. Well, we didn't. I mean, I guess we talked about the Christmas special, but I remember the next day I went and rewatched the actual He-Man and She-Ra, like her origin story.
Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should, since you've already watched it, I'm looking for an excuse to watch it, and we could talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to some more He-Man stuff, but I'm excited for it. I think it looks great.
I agree. I think it's going to be a good time.
And another trailer that dropped last week that we were going to talk about and then kind of got like pushed to the side quickly, but I guess we can just give brief thoughts, is Hit Monkey.
Oh, yeah.
On Hulu. Marvel has a show called Hit Monkey that's dropping on Hulu. It's got Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde and some other cast members that are just kind of escaping at the moment, which looks pretty off the wall and cool. Like, it's, there's like Jason Sudeikis is like this ghost of a hitman that got murdered, and he's like telling this monkey pretty much what to do, and he's gonna go get revenge because of like a bunch of people that got murdered. It sounds completely batshit crazy, but I bet it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's madness, but it's one of those things that I'm either going to love or I'm going to hate. Like, I don't think I'm going to be in between.
No middle ground?
No middle ground. It's either going to be one of those things where it hits me and I go, oh my God, that's just sheer insanity. I love it. Or it's going to be like, the hell am I watching? Like, so I'm kind of excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Hit Monkey personally, but I mean,
nothing.
Whatever. Listen, I admit, Marvel's got their name on it. They're putting themselves out there. I'll check it out. I mean, I think they did a solid job with MODOK. I mean, we weren't over the moon with MODOK.
Didn't love it, but I liked it.
Yeah, we there were certain parts or certain episodes that were really funny.
Yeah.
And this seems like it's kind of, in a way, a batshit crazy version. I mean, or like similarity series, I guess, if you want to say, of it. Like,
yeah, it seems like it's like the same.
It's a Hitman Monkey, so
yeah, all right, yeah, that says it all. But it's a Hitman Monkey. Done. That's all you need to know.
Hitman Monkey, and we'll check that out, because I know they'll drop the whole season at one time, and we'll kind of break down the season for you guys when it comes out. So we got that. And I know there were some stills that were released earlier today from, well, it was a still from Spider-Man No Way Home, which was just more Doc Ock, but it was actually like battling Peter this time. But we're Jason, we're in sync on this, right? That we believe in the trailer when he says hello, Peter, he's talking to Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, I think that's
Tom Holland.
Yeah, I don't think he's fighting Tom Holland. I don't think he's talking to Tom Holland. Yeah. I'm sure. I'm going to say that I think he will interact with Tom Holland. I just don't think that is what we're seeing here or in the trailer. Well,
my guess is that from the still, he's gonna fight Tom Holland. I don't think that's a problem. But I think Peter,
But I mean, like in that scene, like I think in the trailer that we've seen, like and the thing is, I don't know if he's gonna fight Tom Holland for real, because I still don't know if they're gonna bring him back as the Octavius.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that.
Yeah, so maybe he won't fight Tom Holland. Maybe he'll, he's kind of got no beef with that Spider-Man. So who knows? So. But if he does or it doesn't matter. I think my point is like, I'm completely with you. I think that in the trailer and even maybe in the stills we're seeing that's the Tobey Maguire, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it's going with that. All right, let's jump into our 2 CW shows of the week that we got Stargirl season 2 episode 12. Finale's next week. So I
can't believe that.
I'm pretty. Well, this is what I remember last week when I was like, oh yeah, I misspoke and was like, oh yeah, Supergirl's got only 2 episodes. I guess it was Stargirl that I was kind of thinking of when I was like, they've got 2 episodes. So this episode's really, I took it as a very much of a setup episode for the
100%.
finale. Yeah, like there wasn't a crazy amount going on. I mean, Stargirl is going ahead and she's, actually the opening scene I thought was funny, which was almost going to be one of our. That was almost our opening music today.
I could see that.
Right said Fred.
Yeah,
it was very close to that.
I would have loved that as well. I would have danced to that too.
Yes, same here. We have no choice. But yeah, so we get there. Is it what the dog's name? Is it Otis or?
Oh, I'm terrible with character names. I'm lucky I could remember Stargirl's name.
So their dogs pretty much got the house to themselves because they were at the movie theater with the shade and trying to go into the Shadowlands. And this dog is like living it up and enjoying life and eating really all their treats and everything and tearing up the bed and all this other stuff. And it's playing to Right Said Fred's I'm too sexy, which I think I was laughing. It was really funny.
It was great. And I have to add in, I was watching it because I watched it today and I had my son with me. And when that scene, my son, every time he hears music, he likes to dance now. So when that scene was going on, my son was sitting snacking on the couch with me going, nice, just rocking around.
Yeah, it was a funny opening. And then the family gets back and they, then they got to deal with the fact that they have Cindy with them.
Yeah.
And she's there and is, throughout the episode, there's a lot of interaction and she's just trying to get across to them, like, telling Courtney and telling all of them, like, you guys got to start getting your hands dirty a little bit. You got to start getting evil. You got to start getting bad because that's the only way to take down Eclipso. And that right there is almost pretty much the essential thing of this episode.
That is the essential thing. Yeah, because that also comes in at the end.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have Courtney goes ahead and she tries to get Yolanda back, to suit up as Wildcat again. And kind of tells her, like, oh, well, you're not the first JSA member to murder someone. The original Wildcat, and then we're down with it.
Yeah, the original Wildcat murdered people. And I love Yolanda goes, why are you telling me this?
That's exactly what I was thinking, because I'm kind of like, all right. But Yolanda's great because she's like, well, now I really don't want to put the suit on again because Wildcats are apparently murderers. So I don't want to be down with this, obviously. And then the Dr. Midnights get together. And
which actually, I love that. I'm loving that that Beth Chappell, that's her name, right? Mm-hmm. I'm loving that she's finally meeting Charles McNider, and because he's got a missing daughter. Her parents are shit. You kind of see them setting up this father-daughter relationship between the two, and I'm all for it. It was one of my favorite parts of this episode.
Yeah, no, I thought their whole dynamic was really cool. She has goggles. He has goggles too. Oh, he also has like sunglasses.
Yeah, which connect like to. Is that like the Iron Man sunglasses?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. It could be Edith or something. Who the hell knows?
Yeah. Archie! I just picture that being the voice of Edith. Oh, Peter!
Oh, that's great. That's good. I'd actually never thought of that.
It just hit me now. I didn't either.
So they're pretty much teaming up too. And then you get it where Eclipso, by the way, the creepy kid is back again.
Which, oh my God, that kid is so good in this.
Yeah, he's really good. Angie actually pointed out, we were watching it last night, and she's like, man, for this kid, for his age, he's really good.
He's intense.
Yeah, he's really intense. So they're still playing on that. And Green Lantern's daughter is going through this like whole thing where she's kind of wiped out most of the episode. And it seems like the ring was kind of drawn to like stop, like was kind of sensing evil.
Yeah, like the dark matter, right?
Like the
from
dark
the shadow
matter
realm.
Was there. Yeah, exactly. And then I was trying to remember if it was at the end of the episode or if it was in like the previews for next week. But we also see some shit where it looks like Eclipso takes over Courtney.
Though that was that was. I don't know. I think that was at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Because what he says is, as the creepy kid, oh, I need you all here. for Courtney to get in touch with her dark side. And I think it's supposed to be like a clip of the future or something. And her eyes are red and she's got like an Eclipso type mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And she's very obviously like, she's got the goatee. She's Spock evil, you know?
Yeah. That's a good point. That's Spock evil. Of course you have a goatee, then that's it. You're automatically Spock. You're automatically evil then if you're Spock.
Look, I got a goatee. I'm Spock evil. I'm evil Jason from the other dimension. I just play it cool here. You know, I don't lose my job and my pension.
But another interesting storyline here is Pat. Pat goes to Pat goes to the hospital and tries to get kid's name. Hourman's uncle, essentially to like drop the bullshit, and he won't. And he's pretty much laid up in a hospital bed, drinking out of like a straw. He can't do anything. He can't even talk. He's writing down on a pad, and he's just pretty much telling him, you know, no way in hell am I dropping the charges, because they're trying to get him out of the cell to help them fight Eclipso.
And what I love is before you go further, because it's this moment where Pat's like saying, "Oh, can you drop the charges?" Trying to appeal to him, and you just see him methodically write. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if this were an HBO show, it would be "fuck you" or something like that, right?
Oh, if it were Doom Patrol, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if this were Doom, for sure. But like, it was the CW equivalent. It was go to hell, and I was like, yeah, that's right. I called it, even though it wasn't as harsh as I thought it should have been.
Angie said the same thing. Actually, she was calling it too. Yeah. So then he's like, all right. Okay. Pat's like, all right, you're not going to do it? That's fine. He goes at it, and then we find out, by the way, Pat is like a veteran, which I didn't know.
I didn't know that either. I was going to ask you about that. This is the first time we found out he was in the Army, right?
Yeah, that's never been mentioned before.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool, but then he closes the blinds.
Oh, that was so
and
cool.
Then you see him, like that, you know, the uncle knows that, like, he's about to be in some shit. And then he gets released.
Pat's switch is fantastic. Another favorite part of this episode, because he's really trying to appeal to his like sensibilities and empathy. And when he sees he doesn't have it, just sits down. He goes, you know, I know a lot of guys like you. You got your superpower. It's finding weak people to take advantage of. And I'm like, oh my God, stuff's going down. And Pat gets up, and this is like some really good Luke Wilson acting, because he walks over real methodically over to the door, and as he's talking, he just locks it real slow. And he goes, you know, when I come across people like you, when I did or when I do now, and it's like, oh no, this is not going well. And he like does the thing, and he just goes, I get in touch with my dark side, which again goes into the theme of this episode.
Yeah, which everyone needs to get in touch with that in order to defeat Eclipso.
Right. So, but I just wanted to break that scene down because I thought it was such a wonderful Luke Wilson scene. I can't believe that television got that performance out of him, you know?
Yeah, no, it really is good. And he just continues to shine on this show, I think, like constantly. Another thing too is that his son goes ahead and is tracking down the Thunderbolt, and he finds the kid. And then we start learning more about the kid finally, who has the Thunderbolt now, who's also on his paper route and everything. And he has this like massive cheeseburger thing because he was hungry one time and he wished it to be the case. And then I think he wanted Chinese food, and the Thunderbolt actually went to China to go get it.
I love that. He's got to
take everything super literally.
I love that. And I love this kid, actually. This kid's hysterical. Because he's like, I don't know. I said I wanted a cheeseburger, a big cheeseburger, and then it was huge, and I got scared. So I said, I just wish I could fly away, and then my bike flew away. All right, well, where's Thunderbolt? Well, I was still hungry, so I wished for Chinese food. It was just like,
what? I'm curious to see where they're going to go with that for of tying it into beating Eclipso next week.
Yeah, well, I think, like, you know, this is the new JSA, right? I mean, Thunderbolt was part of the JSA, and, you know, I think that's what they're doing is they're bringing him in. They need his power into the whatever Thunderbolt's going to bring here. Yeah. But I love this kid. There's a moment where Stripe's son, I forget his name, but he goes like, you know, I wished it to be in better hands. And the kid is like, better hands? How am I better hands? And this son's like, I mean, look, I had it. It was a low bar.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was a nice exchange. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah. No, I enjoyed the self-deprecating humor with that kid all the time. But yeah, so we'll see where it goes, you know, next week. Since we got the season finale.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, and then the other CW show we got lined up this week is oh boy, Supergirl season 6, episode 17. Which my favorite part is that we get the countdown after to say how many episodes were left.
Yeah. See, this answers the age-old question we've been asking all season, Ed. Would Lex Luthor save this season? And based on this episode, I would say that's a resounding no.
I am with you 100% because I was Angie. As soon as Lex shows up in the beginning of the episode, Angie turns to her and she goes, "Yeah, look, this is what you guys wanted all season." I'm like, "All right, let's do this." And I kind of sat up in my chair, and then go ahead.
And yeah, and there it was.
Not quite saved.
No. So Lex is from the future. He went to the future. He's back. He's here to help Nixley because in the future, he's in love with her. But like legit, like I don't think this is a Lex ploy. Because
I hope it is.
I
really hope it is.
I do too.
It needs to be.
I do too. I'm really hoping it is, but there is that moment, and I'm not even going to in chronological order. Who cares?
No.
But and I'm sorry again for those our hardcore Supergirl fans. I loved this show, which is why I'm so disappointed right now in this. So please.
Likewise.
Just understand this is coming from a place of loving disappointment. But yeah, so Lex has the opportunity to get the love totem, and I don't know, I'm just so lost with the totems. They find the totems, they activate the totems, they throw the totems away. I don't remember who has what totem, and that's important in this episode.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is like, so Lex has the thing has an ability to get the love totem and let Nixley be pretty much captured and possibly killed by the Super Friends because Brainy pulls out a big ass gun while they're all like keeping her down. But Lex decides to save her, and so that's why I think that I don't know, maybe this is a real thing. But I hope you're right. I hope it's a trick. But yeah, that's this episode. This episode is literally just we've got to get the rest of these totems. No, the totems, the totems, but I got the totem and you got the totem. Oh, I'm Lex. I'm in love with Nixley. She's the best I've ever had. Bah, 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 bah. The coolest part about this episode, and it's the only part that I actually did really enjoy, is Martian Manhunter taking the courage trial.
Yes, that was cool.
I thought that was cool. I think anytime we get to see Jean as a Martian is awesome. I'm always up for his recollections of the Martian apocalypse because I think that like it actually looks super cool.
Yeah, they do a good job with that.
They do. So I liked that. Lena Luthor has this whole irrelevant plot line which takes 10 minutes to resolve where she's using her magic. Remember, she has magic now.
Yeah.
She sees Lex and goes, but magic is emotions, and Lex plays with my emotions. Hence, I shall not use magic when Lex is here. And Supergirl goes, but I'm your family, Lena, and I need you to use magic. And Lena goes, for you, Supergirl, I'll do it.
Oh, man, what they've done with Lena Luthor is...
She was she was an awesome character, right? Like
she really was.
Like back in like that first season, she gets introduced, or even... even when she's at odds with Supergirl, even last season, where she was kind of a villain, she was a great character. What the hell are they doing? Did they just put did they go, okay, let's just throw some random stuff in a bowl? All right, what do we get? Oh, Lena's a witch. All right, $20 says you can't get this into this season. Like, what are they doing?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's my hopes for just having a strong ending are fading every single week.
Yeah, me too. All right, 2 more things, and then I'm done with this episode. I know I asked this last week, but is Brainy and Brainy and Dreamer back together? Because I can't tell with the way they interact with each other, because they don't share screen time, and then all of a sudden they're being very, conspiratorial and together, and it's like, and they were sleeping together last week, but that was the first time that happened since a season ago.
I don't know. I don't know. And then because of you and our show last week, I was looking for that this week to try to get an answer. I still got nothing. There's
nothing. I don't know what their relationship is. And
everyone out there, by the way, these are 2 people who have watched every single episode of Supergirl ever. Yes. And we still can't answer this question now.
Yes. And again, I watched all but season 1 relatively closely. Like before the summer started, I think I did that rewatch.
Yeah.
So just a couple months ago, I watched every single episode except for season 1 because that I had seen when it first aired.
The sacrifices Jason makes for Granny's peach tea.
I watch a lot of stuff for this show.
Yeah.
And then finally, and this is the big thing we all need to know. You can't destroy the totems, guys. So all the totems that we destroyed, it was useless. It means nothing because the totems just regenerate in Lex's hand, apparently. Hooray! That's our episode.
Yeah. Again, not their finest work. Not even their finest work of this season.
No, that's the thing. It's like you got Lex because there were a couple episodes this season, not many, but there were a couple where like that was fine. It wasn't the best, but that's a fine episode. I enjoyed it. But you bring John Cryer's Lex Luthor, which you and I have been crying about all season, and still it's like it's this.
Yeah, it's been a tough watch every single week.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess the right spot here is you got Alex and Alex and Kelly got engaged in the bar where they used to all hang out and stuff like that, and there's the whole it's booked, it's not booked, oh wait a second, I can't do it. And then obviously we all knew that it was Kelly booked it ahead of time. That was pretty obvious.
Yeah, like I guess that's why I didn't even bring that up, because the second like she brings Esme there, Esme, who by the way kind of cute, like I usually don't like kids in my things, but like I actually kind of think this girl's adorable. So
no, she's great.
Yeah, but I love that Esme's playing them both, like like playing both sides. But the whole as soon as David Bowie walks in with Esme and they're like it's booked, and she's like, but it's never booked. No one's ever here. What do you mean I gotta book it? I'm like, Kelly has the same idea. Okay, yes. I can't wait to find that out at the end of the episode.
Big shocker. Yeah. So all right, well. We're still fingers crossed and hoping that damn thing gets better.
I hope so. What do we got? 2 episodes? 2 episodes? 3 episodes?
3. We got 3 left.
All right. I hope they pull it around. I really want to end well. I like this show. I like this cast. I think Melissa Benoist, is super charming and wonderful as Supergirl. I love the guy who plays John, as I've said. Like I feel the need to keep apologizing because I like this show so much. And I've done nothing but shit on it all season, and I feel badly about that. But like, it is what it is.
So do I. It's like, for a sports analogy, this is like a one-time superstar who's lost their way and is at the end of their career and can't really get it done like they used to. And it's not. It's pretty.
Yeah.
But all right. Speaking of which, it's that time.
It's that time. We are here.
So we are going to wrap up the Sam Raimi section of the live-action Spider-Verse rewatch that we've been doing leading up to Spider-Man No Way Home. And this is it. We're up to Spider-Man 3 from 2007. By the way, when I realized what year this came out in again, I thought about something. I'm like, man, so we were a year away from getting The Dark Knight and Iron Man.
Yes.
Like the birth of the MCU was a year after this.
Yep.
And we got The Dark Knight, which is arguably the greatest DC film ever made.
Oh, I think it might be, in my opinion, the greatest superhero movie ever made.
And I can see that. I can definitely see that. One day I'm sure we'll get into a discussion about this. We'll get. I'm sure we will. It'll be. I don't like lists for shows, but I think sometimes it's needed, and we will get to that one day.
I think we should.
But we got this, and we if you followed our last 2 episodes, I mean, we sung the praises of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which is still in the top 10 best superhero movies ever made. I cannot read off the other 9 right off the top of my head.
Here I got him. I got him right here. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You want to know what I got right here?
Yes.
The streaker.
Yes, the streak continues. The streak lives.
Gotta do it. 14 and going, baby. 14 and going.
What's up, Tim?
What's going on, Tim?
You know, I couldn't miss the Dancing Spider-Man 3. I couldn't miss it.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. I'm
You
glad
need
you
to
are
be
here.
here for our dancing in the beginning of the episode.
I saw it.
We had finger guns and everything.
I was gonna put the music on when I came on, but I was like, nope, they beat me to it. I'm not gonna copy them. I'll just throw a couple of these in there. It'll be good to go.
You could have done the other song that was in the running for our opening song this week was Chubby Checkers the Twist, because that's in this movie for reasons unknown also.
Question mark. Yeah, why? Who knows?
Why not?
Don't really know why that's in this. But yeah, so we were just talking about how, I mean, Tim, we talked about this too. There's great franchises that you got Spider-Man and then Spider-Man 2. Tim, Spider-Man 2 was like, if you had to just off the top of your head, like top 10 best superhero movies like ever.
Probably.
Right? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then this happens. It's like Godfather 2, and then I know, Tim, without getting into discussion, I know you're a defender of 3, but you'll admit that there's a drop-off from the first 2. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
So,
And even the Batman trilogy.
That's what I was going to get to. We got Batman Begins, you got The Dark Knight, and then we got The Dark Knight Rises. Another one. It's like the third part of trilogies is it's tough. It's tough to keep that going. But man, this was a hard watch. This was really, really a hard watch.
I just watched it too, by the way.
Did you just now? Did you?
Just like 2 days ago, I threw it on because it was on cable. I said, let me. Well, I zipped through the parts. I zipped through the important stuff.
Okay.
Like I haven't watched them dance a twist. I was like, I am not watching this. This is a ridiculous scene. So I skipped that part. But other than that, I watched it.
Yeah, I rewatched it yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, I watched it, and Jason, you watched it last night, right?
I watched it last night. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I went in with a fresh mind, trying to be like, all right, maybe, as I haven't seen this movie in a while either, and I was trying to go in with a fresh mind, like, all right, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. And one of our boys, Alex, was kind of like just seen it recently and was like, trying to like defend it a bit.
He loves this movie.
No, he does.
And I have some points. I will get to his points before we're done here.
Yeah, no, we'll go through the character arcs like we usually do, because we like to not just do scene by scene.
Yeah,
because that's absurd. If you haven't seen Spider-Man 3 by now, I don't know if you should. Well, maybe you should watch it. I don't know.
No, I'm going to say this: if you haven't seen Spider-Man 3 and you liked Spider-Man 1 and 2, know what you're getting into, but see the movie. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't hate this movie. I don't like this movie a lot. Like, it's not, I would never go, hey, it's Tuesday, let me just watch Spider-Man 3, right? However, I do go through phases where I go, I'm going to watch the Spider-Man trilogy. Like, if I watch 1, I watch 2, and if I'm that far in, I will eventually watch 3. So if you've watched the first 2 and liked them, yeah, 3's not great, but go see it.
I hate this movie.
I know you do.
I actually hate this movie.
I know you do.
I do. I was telling Jason before we went on, I'm like, I went in with an open mind, like I was just saying. I was trying to, about 5 to 10 minutes in, I'm like, then it turned into a hate watch. I'm like, oh my God, these fucking really do hate this movie. So let's talk about Peter Parker. All right. So Peter Parker's arc in this movie, Peter's pretty much an asshole.
Yeah.
And a lot of this film, for really no reason. I get what they were trying to go for, where, Peter's kind of getting full of himself, and because the movie opens up with like, everyone likes me now, everyone likes Spider-Man, he's not wanted posters everywhere and things like that, and J.J. Jonah Jameson's not trying to destroy him anymore,
right?
And then he gets that, but then we get the weird kiss, which comes completely out of left field.
The one with him and Gwen Stacy.
Yeah,
and why would you? You're Peter Parker, okay? Why would you recreate the kiss you had with MJ? Like, I get he's on a darker path. I get that he's kind of full of himself. He's finally, because MJ is usually the one who's, self-centered and all about herself, and now it gets to be both of them, right? But it's like, of all the things to do, how do you that would be like me going, hey guys, I'm famous now, so I'm gonna have this woman who I know that I obviously have chemistry with, and I'm gonna recreate my first date with my now wife with her. You think my wife's gonna be okay with that? It's like, no, dude, that was stupid.
Yeah, and just the way it happens too really irked me, because it's like he comes down from the thing and it's Spider-Man Day and all of that or whatever. Gwen just got saved, and we'll get to Gwen in a minute.
Yeah, she's on the list.
But yeah, but I just want to talk about this particularly because this scene is used to spawn off a lot of other shit in this film to set off a bunch of crap, and he just he lowers down. He's like, "Oh, put one on me." And that automatically means lower my mask and kiss me. And why is the crowd cheering, kiss him? Like they're obsessed. Kiss him, kiss him. Like, where did all of this come from?
I don't know. Like I didn't realize maybe that was maybe there's a lot of spider porn in this world. You know? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it was like balloons and dolls and stuff, and like I don't know, but like Tim, you watched it recently too. Like, doesn't it seem like this whole thing just comes out of left field?
And let's not forget the one thing I can't stand about the movies. He has his mask off, literally 10 feet away from these people before he swings in. He's just sitting there like, "Hey, this is great. No mask on, with thousands of people looking for you, waiting for you to drop in." And he's standing there. No one's looking. No one's looking. Look, we've all been to a ticker tape parade in New York City.
Yes.
All the windows are filled with people. Cameras everywhere. You're telling me someone didn't see this guy standing there with no mask on? Horse shit. They did. As far as the kiss goes, you know what? I think it's important for the movie to show that Peter really is an asshole, and it had to give what's her name? Mary Jane, reason to really be upset. I personally don't think it was that bad. I mean, he didn't be like, hey, take my mask off and kiss me. Maybe he was expecting like a peck on the cheek, or
that's what I thought.
That's a very good point.
And then she went over the line and did the whole thing.
Exactly. So I don't really think Peter was being that much of an asshole. Like, hey, by the way, my girlfriend, the first time we kissed, she pulled my mask. Let's do that. It was more like, hey, plant one on me, and he's like, whoa, that's a little too far. So I really don't blame him for that.
I just think that happens. And it's obviously recreating their kiss from the first film. And then when they talk about it later, because that same night, he goes to propose to her. And then just the way that they react back and forth about it doesn't make any sense.
It's like they're in two different scenes, honestly.
Because he has like no recollection that it basically happened. He doesn't there's nothing about it.
Because he's literally just like she's just a girl in my class, MJ. And it's like a girl in your class who you just kissed.
Yes. And the whole thing is like she says to him, "Oh, was it Peter Parker or Spider-Man that kissed her? Does it fucking matter? Does it really matter?" The writing in this movie is like mind-boggling. Like
I'm on Peter's side though. I'm on Peter's side when it comes to this part.
You hate MJ. You hate
the
actress.
No, but it's not just that. It's like, look, I didn't know she was gonna kiss me in my mouth. I didn't know. But you gotta remember something. Peter, for 2 movies, not just 2 movies, his whole life has been chasing this woman. Yeah. And he got her.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
So she has no right to be jealous of some random chick kissing him. She could be upset the way she kissed him, but she can't be upset that who kissed him, dude. I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you for 15 years. You didn't even notice me. I was a piece of crap in your life until I became Spider-Man. Relax. So I'm kind of on Peter's side when it comes to the whole thing.
Fair enough.
Well, Alex is chiming in here too. The most messed up thing that
comparing
himself to MJ. He's like, I'm something of an icon. Well, Peter's. That's where I can see where Peter being full of himself comes across kind of well, where he's like not identifying with MJ being down in the dumps. She just got fired. She's just told
he doesn't even realize
everything else.
But she never told him. That's her fault.
Yeah.
Tell him. She didn't tell him anything. She didn't tell him she was getting bad reviews. She didn't tell him she got fired. She told him nothing. Instead, what'd she do? She ran to the bad actor. And they started dancing in the kitchen while making dinner, whatever the hell they were doing.
We'll get to Harry. We'll get to Harry also. Yeah.
Team Peter, baby. Team Peter all the way in that relationship. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they write Peter as an asshole in this film. And
he's definitely an asshole.
Yeah.
But I don't buy it. I just think it comes completely out of fucking left field. It's not the character.
Yeah.
It's not.
I agree with you. And so I'm going to get to Alex's first point that he had texted me because I told him to text me his top 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with this in theory. And then I'm going to say why I don't think the movie lives up to it. So he says this movie was set on a darker path than the other ones. The film took a more violent turn on Peter, and it's expressed in the soundtrack. And I think he means the score, which I could see that. The score is a bit, I mean, I don't really notice scores, to be honest, but I'll take his word for it. He's seen this movie way more times than I have. But I do agree that this was supposed to be a darker Peter. This was supposed to be a Peter who's full of himself, right? And they try to do that, but I think they also then have scenes where it's like, well, we're gonna make him emo and do finger bumps, and it's like, well, that's not dark and edgy, and I think they are. I think Alex is right. That was the intention, but I don't think this movie fulfills that promise of giving us a darker, edgier, like Peter Parker having this internal conflict of, I'm famous now and I have to deal with that. And I also now have this darkness because MJ's breaking up with me and the Venom suit. And I just think like it could have been handled better, but the idea is a good one.
Yeah, but I think that's the theme of this movie. The theme of this movie is that they have ideas, but the execution is horrendous. Like it keeps happening. Like, and when we're talking about, since we're we're talking about Peter, he gets the suit, right? He gets the symbiote on him, which, by the way, I really, really hate the fact that it just plopped out of in a park where he's with MJ.
Makes no sense.
Randomly?
And then it just follows him home and hangs out in his apartment and decides to become the black suit.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And what kills me further is the fact that since we just watched the second one last week, you set up the Spider-Man the Animated Series version of how the suit got to Earth. And you chose to just ignore it.
Yes. The whole thing could have been they did a little retcon of it came off of J. Jonah Jameson's Astronaut Sons thing.
Yes.
It got a sense of, and again, this might be flimsy, but it's better than we got. It got a sense of what Peter Parker because of MJ, because whatever. You can even say it got a sense of who he was through her because it spent time with her, because whatever. And then that's why it's attracted to him. Just something. I'm not even saying that's a good idea. What I just said was shit, but it was something.
I agree with you. It's better than what we got because we basically got nothing. It's just there. It jumps onto his scooter. They ride away, and it shows up like a half an hour later after 6,000 other things happen, and just climbs onto it. It was hanging out in his room, not doing anything, until he got mad one night, and then just decides to show up and jump on top of his suit. By the way, on his suit. Not Peter.
Yeah,
on his suit, I didn't even catch which is moronic because if it's if it's looking for a host, right? Like we got it, and I think Dr. Connors explains it in that one scene where he's like, yeah, it could almost be like a parasite. You've latched on to clothing, not to the human being. That makes no sense.
It's true.
Oh, it drives me completely nuts. And by the way, the look of the black suit is just stupid. I'm sorry.
It's just a black suit. That's what I'm saying.
That's the point. There was nothing special about it. Where's the big white tarantula? This I thought we were gonna get like the white eyes and like this dope looking suit. Nah, we're just gonna do the regular suit and like
I agree with you 100%, especially Jason, like what you said. All you had to do was have one little scene saying, "Oh, there was a problem with the shuttle last night." Something came off the shuttle. We're looking for pieces of the shuttle in Manhattan. Might have fell. Bum. The whole thing's explained.
Something.
That's it. That's all you need. A 2-minute scene.
This is literally a movie that retcons the first movie for absolutely no reason. So you can't tell me retconning something that small would have been a problem.
Oh, we'll get to Flint Marco very shortly because that's another massive problem I have with this movie.
We are going to get to it.
We got anything else about like Peter specifically and his character arc in this film?
I have something that Alex said that I do agree with, and I do want to say I agree this one. So that this movie actually does show character growth for Peter and his maturity, because in the first one, when he finds out the person responsible for killing Uncle Ben, who he was, I mean, he pretty much murders that guy. I mean, he doesn't, but he does, and we talked about how that was shot as a horror thing, right?
Yeah.
And then in this movie, it's stupid. I don't even think Alex. I think Alex even admits it's stupid that they retcon the whole Uncle Ben thing. But, but the fact that Peter's able to forgive the Sandman for what he did to Ben, I agree with Alex. It shows the maturity of the character from the first time he faces the first guy he thinks killed his uncle to when he does now. So I do want to give that to the character. I did like that growth, which I do think is supposed to and does come out of a little bit the whole what he learns while he's sort of in like the Dark Peter version.
Well, when he's in the Dark Peter version, though, the second he finds out where Flint Marko is, he goes and kills him.
No, right, but like, at the very end.
Kills him.
I mean, kills him, but that's also, you could make the argument that the Dark version is amped that up, but at the very end, when he's gotten rid of the Dark suit and he's fighting Flint Marko, they have that moment where he does forgive him, and Flint Marko just sort of goes away in the wind.
That's Tim's favorite scene in this whole film.
we used to joke, Jason, that when someone says something you don't like, you disappear like Sandman. So if someone says something, just go shh, and you disappear. So now you know what that means.
If I were a trickster god, that is how I would leave every conversation. I would just go
that's it,
and I'd be gone.
Well, I guess what we could discuss then, since we're going to go character by character, but let's get into when Peter gets the symbiote on him or on his suit, and he puts the suit on under his clothing to keep going, which really infuriates me even further. And you can tell he's messing with it and adjusting it to let you know he's wearing it under his clothing for some bizarre reason.
And again, like, it's a symbiote, and look, anyone who could get any enjoyment out of this movie is a fan of the comic, because I don't think you can not like this comic and get any enjoyment out of this, right? So you know what the symbiote is what I'm saying. If you're watching this, then it's not a real suit. It literally could just be his clothes if he wants it to. Like, why are you doing this whole suit? Like, give us a cool scene where he's wearing the black suit and he goes, and it just turns into a black, like an actual maybe like black tuxedo or black suit, or instead of that whole weird shopping montage. Like, you know what I'm saying? Have that be the suit or something, but they don't. It's just uncomfortably under his shirt. Like,
which he did in the cartoon. Remember the cartoon? He's like, oh, I don't look good. Let me change my clothes.
Yes.
Nice
yes,
suit.
he did. Yes, he did.
Nice suit. That's all you got to do.
Highly underrated, the Spider-Man, the animated series. Highly underrated.
God, yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so I guess what we're talking about characters, let's get into Emo Parker. With the whole weird push to the hair side thingamajig that he's trying to do, and the finger guns, and the weird dancing, and the whole thing that's been mocked to hell. Which, great scene. And if you haven't seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, they take a good dig at this in the beginning of the movie, it's great. It's like, nah, we don't talk about that.
That's awesome. So I think
what the fuck was that whole thing about?
My
I'm
biggest
sorry, but
so I have a theory about why that scene exists, and then I'm going to tell you my biggest problem with it. Right?
Okay.
My theory on why that scene exists is because in the second one, we had that really fun scene of Peter going, you know what? I'm not Spider-Man anymore. Let's listen to raindrops keep falling on my head, and we're going to film it like it's like a 60s sitcom, and we're going to have a freeze frame, and people like that, and it was fun, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was Peter sort of embracing Peter Parker and shunning Spider-Man. This is more Spider-Man embracing his dark side. So we want to give him something similar, but I think that tonally it was so off. Like, it shouldn't have been as fun and lighthearted as the previous one and the second one. And this seems like it's supposed to be fun and lighthearted while he's darker and finger banging and all this weird stuff. And it's like, and I was telling you off air, I can't even tell. In some scenes, the girls seem impressed, and in others, they're laughing at him. And I don't even know what I'm supposed to think about how he's acting here.
I have absolutely no idea what it was meant to do or anything like that. And I can see your correlation between the scene in Spider-Man 2, but like, this is what evil Peter Parker is doing. I mean, we've gotten better, more evil than that in the animated series and in the comics.
Yes.
Where it's like he starts beating the piss out of criminals and things like that. That's where he shows it. He's not doing weird dancing in the street and finger pointing.
He almost killed Rhino in the cartoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's what we needed to see, something like that. I mean, I get it. He has that fight with Flint Marko, and he, like, you know, thinks he kills him and all this other stuff, which if Peter, the science guy, the smart guy would know that he did not murder Flint Marko with that. We'll let that go because that was pretty obvious that if he knows science, that would not happen. Because they do stress to you how smart Peter Parker is in these movies.
Or if he read a comic book, you know, he'd know
and
that he did not kill
listen,
Marko.
And in Spider-Man 2, they talk about he has comic book collection. So I guess if you want to go with that, you can see he did.
And you know, all they had to do for emo Peter is just let Tobey Maguire be himself. Tobey Maguire is not a nerd in real life. I mean, Tobey Maguire hangs out with A-list celebrities.
Yeah,
let him be himself. He hangs out with Leo. Leo DiCaprio is his best friend. You think he's an innocent little boy? No.
I'm gonna put this in quotes. Anyone under 21 clears. What they actually call the group that Tobey Maguire is in with Leonardo DiCaprio and David Blaine and others is the Pussy Posse. Because what they do, or they used to do, is they used to go out and pick up as many chicks as possible and have as much sex in the same night as possible. So it's like, you're 100% right, Tim. You want us to get evil Peter Parker? You just go, you know what, Toby, just be yourself.
Just be that 18-year-old asshole that you are with Leo DiCaprio on the town, knowing you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's it. You didn't have to put his hair the way it was and make him all stupid. It's like, just let him be Tobey Maguire, and that would have been perfect.
It was almost like watching this was like it's like someone who was 10 wrote a scene to show how people get confident. Because there's this weird thing where he's like on the phone with Dr. Connors and he's like, make it believe.
I was gonna get to that. I was gonna get to that.
What are you, 10? Like, no, evil Peter would do that? Get out of here.
No, evil Peter tells the rent guy's daughter to go ahead and get him cookies. Oh, you got nuts? Oh, make them with nuts. Oh, get me a glass of milk. Yeah, that's what he does. That's evil Peter Parker.
He demands the milk.
He demands the nuts. And,
that's it. You know what? When I go crazy eventually and I become evil Jason, because I told you, right? I got the goatee, so I'm just suppressing it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be on this show and be like, Eddie, I want nuts. That's going to demand stuff.
I can make some cookies.
No, I want nuts and I want cookies. And hey, I see some milk in the background there. Get me some of that milk there. You know, like I'm evil now, guys. Stroke the goatee.
It's just so strange. And then the last thing I think that Peter does, well, two things we got to talk about that he does as evil Peter, is when he takes Gwen Stacy to the jazz club, and that whole fiasco goes on where MJ's about to go sing, and then he jumps up there and he's suddenly in his corner playing a piano and plays a different song, and he starts dancing with her, and then she calls him out like, what the fuck is going on right now?
I actually do like that when he looks up at MJ and she's like, I'm not stupid. Like, is this about her? Is this what this is about?
No. That's where Gwen Stacy has some brains right there for a minute. And
I'm all for him showing up with Gwen Stacy to make MJ feel bad.
Yes,
but you don't give me the symbiote teach Peter how to play the piano, and all of a sudden the symbiote knows how to dance. Because that's like, okay, this is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where you get bit, you become a vampire all back, kung fu. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen that way.
Unless the vampire that turned you was a kung fu master, right? I hear that's the way it works.
Oh, so that's why every vampire is a kung fu master.
That's right. Yeah. They're all just turned by the same kung fu master.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then. That makes total sense.
And then the other thing he does is he goes after Harry and Harry's house, how that happens when we get to Harry.
Can I go back to the jazz club scene real quick? Because again, this really shows my problem with this movie in the sense that it will not decide what tone it wants. Because in the same scene where we see him comically play the piano and flip around and dance with Gwen Stacy, we also see him backhand Mary Jane.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I overlooked that. My bad.
Yeah,
out of the way.
No, because no, again, I get wanting him to hit Mary Jane, right? Because I think that's the moment where, like, I think in Peter Parker as a character, like hitting Mary Jane or Aunt May would be the two things that, even if he was completely venomed up, would make him go, what the hell's going on. So I get why he hits MJ. He kind of has to break that Venom spell or that symbiote spell. But the fact that it comes after like it's like, guys, is this supposed to be funny or is this supposed to be like abuse? Like you can't have it both ways.
It's all over the place. This damn thing. So then he goes to Harry, and then so we get the whole like Little Goblin Jr. thing and all of this other shit.
Which I do like that line.
It's a funny line. It's a funny line. I get it, and that worked. I thought that was cool. But dude, he throws a fucking pumpkin bomb at this guy's head and pretty much tries to kill him. Yeah, like literally tries to murder
and walks
Harry
away.
Osborn right there. And walks away.
Right. Movie style.
Struts away. Yeah, the whole explosion.
Explosion in the background. Walk away. Look.
All right, I have to go down. I have to find my note, which just says, I don't think Peter's wrong for what he does to the Green Goblin. It does to Harry here, and here's why. Harry, he comes with the intention of fucking Harry up. That's 100% true, right?
Obviously, yeah.
But Harry's also been messing with him at this point, and Harry takes a pumpkin bomb and chucks it at him, and all he does is deflect it. Now, I'm not saying Peter in his right mind would have done exactly that, but Peter didn't exactly take a bomb and try to kill this man.
No.
Peter was trying to leave.
He webs it and throws it back at him. No, he webs it and throws it back at him.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, had Harry not thrown that pumpkin bomb, Harry would have been just fine that night. Peter wasn't trying to murder him. Peter was reacting in a very over-the-top Venom symbiote way. I'm not saying it's right, but I also don't think it's wrong because it's not like he went there to kill the guy. It's like, oh, you throw this thing at me and you miss? Well, yeah, now it's yours. Goodbye. I mean, it's not something Spider-Man would do, but I don't think it makes him a villain either.
I also think Harry would be dead.
Team Peter.
Well, I mean, yes, of course.
I also think Harry would be dead, by the way. A pumpkin bomb would have blown up his face.
It was too close to his face, yeah.
You don't think it would have messed up his pretty James Franco face?
No, just a little bit. It looked like he cut himself shaving.
And again, though, I'm Team Peter in this case. Simple fact is, you got to remember now, Harry has amnesia at this point. Mm-hmm. MJ has no substantial proof that Peter's cheating on her.
No. At the scene with that, though, no, Harry has his memory back.
No, when they're dancing? No, he gets it right back after they dance.
No. I'm talking about with the pumpkin bomb to the face.
No. I'm just proving why I'm Team Peter.
Yeah, we're jumping around.
I'm Team Peter because during the twist scene when they're making the dinner, he doesn't have his memory, so that means Peter's his best friend in the whole world. Mm-hmm. And MJ has no substantial proof that Peter's cheating, and they kiss, and they flirt, and they get together. So let me tell you something. Team Peter, baby, because that's bullshit. Bros before hoes.
Well, I guess, do we have anything else on Peter? Because I was going to say, let's transition to talking about MJ in this movie.
All right, yeah, because I think I'm done with Peter. Right? I've got my Peter stuff out.
So if we talk about MJ in this movie, she's obviously going through some shit, and yeah, she's like, why did when she tells Peter, by the way, you're not like when Peter's like, oh yeah, I've gone through that, and people hated Spider-Man, and like now they love me and all this other stuff. It kind of made me think of White Men Can't Jump. When Rosie Perez's character's like, if you don't, do you want to join? No, when I tell you that I'm thirsty, you don't just bring me a glass of water. You're supposed to sympathize with me and all this other stuff. I don't know why my mind went right there, but it's
awesome.
Another character I hate. So yeah, it makes sense.
my mind went right there like immediately, and I never would connect these two films in my life, and probably never will again.
But here we are.
So, I mean, whatever. I can somewhat see MJ's kind of point there in a way. She's looking for, like, Peter to talk to her, and he's just kind of, like, too busy, puffing his chest out like everyone finally loves me and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But the scene with the dancing, the whole twist fiasco, and going to Harry, just, I think it goes back to not making a whole lot of sense again.
Yeah, and it pretty much any sympathy you had for either one of those characters, in my opinion, is gone.
I agree.
Out the window with that scene. Like I said, amnesia. That means Peter's his best friend. Now, Peter, don't forget, he already screwed Peter out of MJ once. Now he's doing it twice.
Yeah. Does he remember that first time?
Yeah, I'm sure he remembers part of it at least.
Did they establish when his memory is cut off and when it starts?
No, not really.
because he doesn't remember his father dying. He actually says, "I wish I remembered more about him." So, like, when does he remember dating MJ? And I think that does make a bit of a difference, though. I guess not, because
but they never clarify in the film. The doctor says at one point it's short-term memory loss.
Short-term.
Right.
So
yeah,
You're right.
That's all they say. So, but apparently he doesn't remember the first film. So it goes somewhere past that. So, I mean, he doesn't remember the second one either. So it's been a little while now.
Harry, what do you remember? I don't remember the first 2 films. Did anything happen before the first 2 films?
Nope.
I remember the opening credits of the first one, but that's about it.
That was something weird happened after that. I don't really know.
We were at a museum, and it was weird because there were spiders that were around. What?
I think. I don't know. Yeah, no, they don't really clarify that, but that goes further to the problems with this film, that they don't really set their rules. So we have no idea. We don't know when it begins and ends.
But do you agree, at least, any sympathy for those 2 characters are gone?
Yes, 100%.
No, I'm with you 100%.
It's completely gone. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm Team Peter with most of this stuff. And Peter, as far as being, being arrogant and stuff after that dude's had 20-something years of nothing but shit. And don't forget, he technically was responsible, for his uncle's death. Yes. So I'm sorry, if you finally get something good in your life, I'd be an asshole too.
I'm not doubting. No, Tim, I'm with you on that part. I have no problem with Peter being kind of like puffing his chest out and everyone loves me. Plus, we also went over last week with the Parker lock, how much they hammered that home in the second movie. He really went through a lot of shit. So I get it. That part makes sense to me. But once you take away any sympathy from Harry and from MJ, we're dealing with 3 assholes at this point in the film. Like, when nobody really to cheer for them.
You know what it feels like?
That's bad writing. Not
Spider-Man 3, parentheses, assholes.
Yeah.
Assholes. 3 assholes.
It feels like to me that I was invited to 3 parties with the same people. And I went to the first one and I loved everyone I met. I went to the second one. It was just better. My God, I can't wait for that third one. And I went to the third one and I guess I wasn't drinking that night. And I was like, oh my God, they're all terrible. I'm going home.
3 is
that's what this feels like.
3 is when you're only sober one in the place.
Right. Exactly.
That's it. What a bunch of assholes.
Because like I've been the only sober one in the place a few times. You do it all the time, Tim. I don't know how the hell you do it hanging out with the drunks that you hang out with, but
it's hard. It was hard. It was hard.
I hate doing it at times. That's why I try not to do it often.
Yeah. But that's what it feels like to me.
But then MJ, we get that with her, and then she's being manipulated by Harry, and Harry. Well, I guess we'll save that for Harry's part, because he's the next person we need to talk about. The 3 assholes that we got to start off with, because that's more on him. But then at the end of the movie, MJ is reduced to just being a screaming damsel in distress again for the 3rd movie in a row again.
Yeah,
which is just annoying at this point. Like, it's really annoying. We get it. She's caught by the villain. She's screaming somewhere, "Somebody save me!" and Peter Spider-Man save me. I'm like, oh God, like, it's just another shitty way for her to go. And that's really all of MJ's arc in this film. It's not a lot.
That is, and I have to say that I do want to say that she must have the worst acting manager in the fucking world. That she went from being like the it girl model to Broadway to being a waitress. Like, I'm not saying I'm not saying she wouldn't have been fired from that show. I mean, look, she's that terrible. Look, it's a cutthroat business. But like, she wouldn't go back to waiting tables. She'd probably get a job off Broadway or doing commercials because she is pretty and was a model. Or
don't sing.
Yeah, right. Or just don't sing.
Sing. No sense.
Just go. You can be on Broadway. Do what Denzel Washington did. Do The Iceman Cometh or something like that. Do it like a straight play where you don't have to sing. If you're, if people want to see, they'll see. So that was my thing. My biggest thing with her character in this. It's like, I don't understand how you go from top of the world to down in the dumps without your boyfriend even knowing. Like, it just seemed too much for it.
And why not? And why not tell him? Why not tell him? Like, why are you keeping everything a secret? Oh, because he's so high up, you don't want to bring him down? That's not Peter. Peter wants to know. Peter wants to know all the shit going on in your life. He doesn't want to be, because he's up here, I'm down here, I can't tell him. No. Fucking tell him, because he's way up here, you're down here. Everything he does, you're perceiving as him being
Right.
conceited or an asshole or this or that. No, it's just
There's a great
he's finally happy for the first time in 20 goddamn years.
There's a great
Leave
shot.
the guy alone.
Tim, there's a shot of that exactly what you're saying. It's in one shot when Peter swings in as Spider-Man to the Spider-Man day. There's one scene where they show MJ looking at him swinging in and just looking totally disgusted at him.
Yeah.
Yes.
For no reason.
No reason whatsoever.
And again, 3 assholes.
We do have to remember that MJ was the real villain of the last movie, and she is not her. I love MJ in the comic. I love MJ in the first movie. I actually think they really nail her in that first movie. I think in the second, as I said, and in this one, they get her completely wrong. And I think she is a self-absorbed asshole in both the last one and this one. And they try to justify it. They even try to justify it here. Like when she gets that bad review, she's like, it felt like my father wrote that review. And it's like, all right, look. No,
if you're going to pull that card, then all right, whatever.
Right, like, all right. I'm not saying
Daddy hates you. We get it.
Right. I'm not saying this to be mean because I have my own issues, but it's like you can't always pull the crazy parent card because things don't go your way. It's like, no, you kind of just sucked, I mean, deal with it and fire your manager and get one that doesn't send you back to the freaking Home Depot or something. You know what I mean? Like, as ridiculous as that. But I think like I lost track of what I was saying because I just got so into bashing MJ. Oh no, I was saying that I think here she is a complete jerk, right? And it makes sense. Everything she does, knowing what we know about her character, makes sense. So her going, oh, I'm going to snarl at Peter because he's on top and I'm not, and I'm not going to tell him, like, that kind of checks out what this version of MJ would do.
I just think that you have your 3 main characters, and let's get to the third one now. But the 3 main characters, like, they're not likable. This is a Spider-Man movie. You can't have Spider-Man and Mary Jane not likable in your film.
Flint Marko is probably the most likable person in this movie, and he's the villain.
Exactly. One of many villains in this film.
One of 70 villains. I don't know if you caught it, but I was a villain in this. Did you guys see?
I did. I saw that one scene. I remember that. That was on the extended cut that I watched.
It got cut. It was on the extended cut, and I literally just went, give me your money, Peter. Bang, bang.
But he was giving finger guns to you. You gave him right back to him.
I gave him right back, and that made me the 70th villain of this movie.
So and the fourth asshole.
And the fourth asshole. Yes.
So one of the other villains that we get is Harry Osborn, which I said it last week when we did Spider-Man 2, and I'm going to say it this week. The fact that he finds out that his father is the Green Goblin should end any issue he has with Peter Parker. That should be the end of that. But no, apparently for some strange reason, he finds out his father's a goblin and is like still sympathizes with him somehow, some way. Finds the whole goblin air, everything, the glider, the pumpkin bombs, all of it. Which, by the way, chooses to nix the glider and the suit for no reasons unknown. And
let me get rid of
a fucking hoverboard. For a hoverboard and a fucking paint gun mask, whatever the hell that is. He looks like a total asshole.
It's so
now wait, let me ask you, because you guys are more into the comics and the goblin powder dust injection, whatever the hell it is. Does that enhance your intelligence?
No, it just brings out rage, gives you super strength and everything like that.
So you're telling me Peter, who couldn't pass science Harry, who couldn't pass high school science, built a hoverboard and all those bombs and all those suits and all those weapons? I don't think so.
Yeah. Nope. And in the comic, Harry Osborn's whole thing is he's got split personality. Like Norman Osborn knew he was a Green Goblin, he was evil, he didn't care. Harry Osborn's a good dude who sometimes slips into the Goblin persona over the guilt of his father. And the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because you could have done that in this. I think that would have made this better. Instead of shoehorning this weird amnesia thing in that goes nowhere, is give him a thing where his amnesia is he doesn't remember what he does as the Goblin, and he's doing all of this, behind the scenes stuff, but we don't get any of that. We get just weird. As you said, he's never the Goblin. He never puts on the mask. He builds his own stuff, but he's also using the pumpkin bombs. He hates Peter, though he knows his father's the Goblin. We do see him at some point like juicing like his father did. But like he wasn't juicing when he found out that his father was the Green Goblin. So
That's
again,
my point.
I don't think it explains enough. Like, I think they needed to
Right.
do that whole like split personality thing to make it make sense that Harry Osborn, Peter's best friend, is, even if he thinks Spider-Man. Like, here's the thing: if Eddie, if you and I are best friends, and you are Spider-Man, and my father's a villain, and Spider-Man kills my father, I'm gonna hate Spider-Man. But if I find out you're Spider-Man, you've been my best friend my entire life, I'm gonna go, you know what? I don't know how to feel about this, but maybe we should have a conversation before I try to kill you, because you've been my best friend for a long time, and I should at least hear why you killed my father.
But then you also find out that your father is a villain that tried to kill multiple people, and kill MJ, one of your other best friends,
including you. He tried to kill his own son. He wasn't actively trying to kill his son at that thing in the first one where he attacks for the first time, but he doesn't actually care. He's not trying to not kill his son.
So I actually, I
don't forget the one main problem with. I'm sorry, the one main problem with 2, like I said last week, was he hears the voice in his head for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. But Tim, I'm gonna tell you right now why. That's literally what I was about to get to.
Unless it's a ghost.
Hold on. I think that what Jason was trying to explain was what they were trying to communicate, but they totally fumbled it. Where him hearing his father and all of that whole thing was supposed to be Harry's split personality. The guilt of his father dying and all of that. That was supposed to be that, but they just fumble it in the way that these movies were written. And that's why it doesn't come across the proper way. So I think they had the right idea, but they don't ever actually say it. And this movie, you could have followed up and said that you could have explained it. Say, hey, listen, drop the stupid memory loss shit, because that went absolutely nowhere. That whole storyline is totally pointless. So you could have just went, instead of that, like Jason was saying, you go ahead and be like, all right, he had the split personality. It got worse. That's why he hears his father. That's why he hears all of that. Boom. His whole thing is completely explained. Yep. But instead, what we got makes no sense whatsoever.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, you can even have it.
But Tim, it's not your fault, because the way that the movies were written, they don't tell you that. Yeah, you shouldn't have to have us ad lib for them.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I meant when I said, like, you have to have knowledge of the comic books to get any enjoyment out of this movie, because, yeah, I knew what they were going for. Like, here's the thing is, I think I do enjoy this movie in parts because I am a big Spider-Man fan, and I know where they're going in the broad strokes, and it's like when I watch Suicide Squad, I just turn it off part of my brain and go, all right, let's just get in the broad strokes. I see what they're doing, but you know, the fact is, I don't like that movie. I don't. You shouldn't have to know that Harry Osborn in the comic has this issue for this to make sense, because if you don't have that knowledge, it doesn't make sense. Because again, as you said, it's, oh, my father tried to kill you and me and MJ and half the city. I hate you, Peter Parker. I'm going to kill you until I have amnesia, and that comes to nothing. And then I'm going to use my amnesia to manipulate your girlfriend to break up with you, and that comes to nothing because I turn around and I do this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, because at that moment, like, I had misspoke. I said 2 scenes later, he kind of reveals his nefarious plan to break Peter's heart.
Go ahead. No, talk about that, though, Jason, because that's where I wanted to go next. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, he does this thing where he gets his memory back after the doing the twist with MJ, and he decides that he's going to ruin Peter Parker by breaking his heart and taking MJ from him. And the way he does this is he just like busts into MJ's place as the faux goblin, as the you know, extreme. I'll call him the extreme goblin because he's like an extreme sports version of the goblin, and like grabs him by the neck or whatever and says, like, you know, you do what I say. Or maybe he doesn't do that. Maybe I'm conflating it with the first one, but he pretty much says, like, you do what I tell you or Peter dies. And what he tells her to do is to break up with Peter and say that she's been seeing someone else. And then he reaches out to Peter and says, I'm the other guy, man. Sorry. And then Peter leaves and looks back, and he gives the James Franco smile, which is to say, like, yeah, screw you. I got my memory back.
Which is a great gift, by the way, that I've used for years. I think it's hilarious.
That is a great gift, actually. Yes. Mm-hmm. This leads into a weird part that I just realized last night is Peter realizes that James Franco Harry has his memory back at that point, but doesn't realize that he's not actually dating MJ, and this is all just a plan to mess with him. Because I realize when he goes and does that whole Goblin Jr. bit, and that's when he like pummels him and destroys his face because of the MJ stuff. He really does believe they're together, and it's like, but that doesn't make any sense, because if my worst enemy told me that the thing that I feared most happened, I wouldn't believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that whole thing doesn't add up. And yeah, his master plan to get Peter to come fight him in his house when he knows that he's Spider-Man and is super powered and all of this, not the best plan.
No,
or maybe he thought he had home field advantage because he had all this hidden bullshit around the house, you know.
Yeah, because he has a shirt on, literally rips out of the shirt,
and a sword comes out of the wall. It's like,
what's with the fucking sword, by the way? Why does he have a sword all of a sudden?
Why not?
I'll tell you something. If I'm a villain and one of you were my arch enemies, and you don't know, you think that I've lost my memory and I got my memory back, and you don't know it, I'm not going to try to take your wives from you. That's ridiculous. I'm going to show up in your house in the middle of the night, pretend to be drunk, and shiv you. If that's really what I want to do, what I want to do is kill you, I'm not going to do this whole, like, Machiavellian thing that goes to nowhere, makes no sense.
It's like Thomas Shane's Punisher. Yes. The Punisher wouldn't go through all that. He would just put a bullet in your head and end it.
Right. That's it.
All Harry had to do is pretend he still didn't have his memory, put his arm around Peter, his best friend, and then stab him in the jugular.
That's it.
But no. I want to have an elaborate plan where I'd steal his girlfriend and we do the twist and make a salad and all this other crap.
Can we get into why the twist, by the way, before we get off of Harry's anything? Why are they sitting there? He tells the butler, by the way, oh, yeah, go get some food. What do you mean, like food? No, food. That's the actual dialogue from it. And I guess that means food means to buy supplies to make breakfast in the middle of the afternoon.
Maybe that's code for condoms.
I don't know, maybe.
Bernard, you don't remember what food means?
Well, he's like, wait, you want food, Master Harry? No, I want food. Oh, condoms and lube. I'll be right back.
It was so weird.
It's so weird.
And then, by the way, they're gonna play Chubby Checker do the twist while they're cooking all of a sudden.
It's weird. It's a weird scene that I don't understand why it's there.
Well, what do you play when you cook? That's what I play.
I don't know. I mean, shit.
No, I play James Brown, and I do this.
Yes. Sometimes I play Enter Sandman. I don't know.
That's true. All right, I got one more Harry Osborn thing.
No, go ahead. Alex, because I wanted to talk about the ending of that too. By the way, because if we're going to talk about that, we got to talk about Harry at the end.
We do have to talk about Harry at the end, and that comes into what Alex says. So Alex's thing about Harry Osborn is he feels that it shows really interesting character development as Harry starts out as the best friend in Peter's shadow and his father's shadow. And by the end of this, he's kind of taking ownership of himself and making a sacrifice and sacrificing himself. So it shows interesting character growth through the trilogy. And I'm going to agree with him on that. I don't like all the choices they make with Harry, but I do think, again, theme of the movie, Harry could have been the best part of this movie if they did him right. And I just don't think they did him right. Like, imagine Harry being the Goblin, but also being jovial, nice Harry and not realizing he's the same, but he's putting the Goblin outfit on and you're getting like like the comic book, pretty much. You're getting the comic book. I think that could have been something really good. But for what we have, I do think that I agree with Alex in the fact that we do have an interesting character arc that does end well for Harry in this, though I don't like every choice they make with him.
I think I can understand where his character arc, I guess he ends well by sacrificing himself and, taking a bullet essentially for Peter at the end. But the whole, I'm going to save my best friend thing. Oh, buddy, oh, pal, let's go fight them. Peter going to him and asking for backup, by the way, is mind-boggling. The fact that you just tried to kill him, so that doesn't make any damn sense either. But
you know what, I am gonna defend that. I'm not saying it makes a lot of sense, but the fact is, MJ is also Harry's friend. Harry does love MJ. He has love for MJ. She has nothing to do with this. And Peter, who is no longer in the Venom costume, is coming and saying, "Look, you hate me, but this isn't about me. This is about MJ. This is about the person that we mutually love." Like, I do get why Peter goes to him with that. And I actually think it would have made sense even without the real villain of the movie, who was Bernard, in my opinion, giving his exposition drop out of nowhere. I think even without that, it would have made sense for Harry to go, you know what? Fuck Peter Parker and Spider-Man, but I got to turn up for MJ. Like, again, I think the what they are trying to do is sound, but the way it is executed is not.
That's the theme of this whole movie.
Yeah.
We keep going back to that. And how about the butler not getting fired the second after he shuts his mouth for that whole thing? So you held on to this damn thing for this whole time. You could have saved a lot of people, a lot of stress, a lot of anger by just blabbing it out one day.
By the way, that's probably the worst acting in all three movies. Is when he finally confesses.
Oh yeah.
I want to chop that guy right in the throat. He is so bad in that goddamn scene. I'm like, what is it? This was like Wayne's World 2. I was like, can we get somebody else in here? I know it's a small part. Can we bring someone else in here? I was hoping Charlton Heston would come in at the last second and do that part. That's how bad it was. I was like, holy shit. No, but you're right. He held the key for 2 whole movies of Peter and him having peace. First of all, let me tell you something else. I'll tell you, by the way. If either one of your fathers was a supervillain and tried to kill me, and they said, don't tell, I would have told you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
5 seconds after his death. By the way, dude, your dad was the Green Goblin. Tried to kill me, lots of people, and you. Just want to let you know that. Let's be friends. I didn't mean to do it. He killed himself. Let's move on.
Not only that, I'd have taken a picture of a selfie with your father in the Green Goblin outfit going, just to prove it. Like, hey, this is him killing himself trying to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Alex, you're right.
Right?
Touched on, exactly. It's another ding for why this movie is so bad, and that's one of them here. It actually even affects other movies of how bad this film is.
And I'm gonna say this. This is why Bernard is the I'm gonna say Bernard is the villain of the series, the trilogy, and this is why, okay? Because all right, so Green Goblin dies, Norman Osborn dies. I'm Bernard. Okay, you know what? I know the truth. I'm not going to say anything right now. Let me see how Harry takes this death. You know what I mean? And then I'm watching Harry, and oh God, Harry's like really, all right, he's trying to take the head of Oscorp, right? And he's trying to do that tritium thing. All right, you know what? I'm going to see where this plays out. Maybe this could be a good thing for Harry, right? The second Harry starts throwing pumpkin bombs and like getting brooding and obviously he's like sitting in the library talking to himself, like drinking scotch out of a decanter, which he does in a scene, which is the most awesome thing ever. He drinks scotch out of one of those old freaking fashioned decanters. But once Bernard seen that, I'm going, sir, we have to talk. Unfortunately, your father was the Green Goblin, and I didn't tell you because I wanted you to be okay, but you're not. So you really need to get some help. Like, that's how that should have went.
What you just did was better than the actual actor.
Yes, that was 100% better.
Because he
was
Sam
like, Raimi, I'm available.
You're like, Harry, when I found your father, he had holes in his stomach. Like, dude, shut the fuck up. I don't believe anything you say. I don't believe you.
Harry should have told him, I don't buy anything you're saying. Get the fuck out of your line.
You're lying. You're fired.
Even though I found all the goblin stuff, I still don't believe you. Get the fuck out of here. You're lying.
I would have stopped and said, bro, you're a fucking terrible actor. You're terrible.
You know, Bernard, I knew my father was the Green Goblin before this conversation, and now I'm doubting it. That's how bad that delivery was.
All right, so let's get to what I think we would agree is probably the best part of the film, which is Flint Marko.
Yeah, I agree.
Sandman. Thomas Hayden Church, I think, does a great job. I love the fact, by the way, he has the sweater. He has the actual Sandman costume.
Yep.
Comics accurate. So you could have had a comics accurate black Spider-Man suit. Just saying, since you decided to go with this. He's probably flat top. Yeah, he had the whole thing working,
he looked great.
man.
He
was
he had
awesome.
The jacked up forearms like Popeye. That was pretty cool too.
So yeah, we get him. He's the most relatable character in the film who has a sick daughter and is like, all right, I gotta provide for her, I gotta do whatever it is to get her better. But the big problem with how they introduced him into the film, and I understand why they did what they did, but it still doesn't make any damn sense and it's absurd, is the fact that they retcon Uncle Ben's death and say that it was Flint Marko instead.
I have to say that
absurd.
I hate this. This is the thing I hate most about this movie. I actually think this ruins the movie more than Venom. And Venom is a huge problem we're going to get to.
It's close. He's next up, but yeah.
Because this not only ruins this movie, it taints the first one for me. Because the first one is such a great movie, and there is no Flint Marko in that one. And let me ask you guys a question. This is something I just realized. What the fuck is Flint Marko even doing there that night? He's the getaway driver. His plan is to carjack someone. You need a getaway driver to carjack someone. I could have pulled that on my own. I could go rob someplace right now, and if I'm lucky enough, carjack someone and get the hell out of Dodge before I'm caught.
Shouldn't the getaway driver have a car?
That's my point. That's my point. Why is he even messing with Uncle Ben? The man should be sitting behind the wheel going, oh, man, this sucks. I'm not a bad guy. My daughter's just sick, but I really need that money, so I'm just going to sit here and drive this car. That would have been it. Like, it makes the retconning makes no sense. And, like, I get what they wanted to do, and I think what they wanted to do is what I talked about at the beginning, was show some growth, and then Peter now can forgive and the such, but this wasn't the way to do it. Because and that whole scene, I'm sorry, because now you've hit a nerve, because this really is the thing about the movie that bothers me.
It hurts me too, man.
But you have that scene with Gwen Stacy's dad, the police commissioner, James Cromwell, where he's like, hey, sir, someone's like one of the cops. Hey, sir, you remember that guy Flint Marko who we fingered for the old Ben Parker murder? And I'm thinking, when the hell did that happen? I watched Peter kill that guy. Where did this? Remember that? Remember what?
Yeah, he was apparently in prison bragging about it out of nowhere, and they had other inmates to corroborate the story. He just decided years later to start bragging about this.
And let me ask you something. That Flint Marko, like, I'm so sorry, I'm not a bad guy. My daughter's just really sick. Can you please forgive me? I don't want to do any harm. That Flint Marko was sitting in prison going, you know what I did, guys? You know what they were gathered around? I shot an old man to death and stole his car. Really? Because I don't
and here comes the little things. You're telling me the commissioner of the NYPD in New York City remembers an old man getting jacked? Do you remember the old Ben Parker murder? No. There was 75 murders that same week. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Right. What are you talking about?
You know many old guys get murdered in New York City on a regular basis?
Which one? Oh, the guy with the funny sweater. Funny sweater guy. I remember funny sweater guy. That's about it. Freddy Krueger? No, not Freddy Krueger. The other guy. Oh, okay, I remember now.
Freddy Krueger, but green. Oh, yeah. Sandman. Yes, I read
that guy. And he just happens to remember the name, too.
And by the way, the way he gets turned into the Sandman is ridiculous.
It's actually, so this is one of the few times. So I was watching the trilogy with Regina. She doesn't usually watch these movies with me. She only watched this one with me because I was doing something with her, and she was like, okay, I'll watch this with you. And we got to that scene, and she just turns to me and she goes, why is that in New York City? Where the hell in New York is that? And I'm like, I never thought about that, but that's a good point. Yeah, why is this? And what's the experiment? Like, what are they doing?
Very vague.
I guarantee
they're turning sand into sand. I mean,
I guarantee it's in Queens somewhere, right by City Field. And he ran, by the way, from Manhattan to City Field. Just so you don't know that.
Yes,
that's right.
Of course, that's what happens all the time.
And fell into a pit. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so
Jersey.
I get Jersey. I get they were trying to have like some connection to trigger Peter when he was angry and he had the symbiote suit to get him to want to like do something. But this is not the way to do it. This is just.
One more thing though. And how many years is it between 1 and 3? Because you're telling me his daughter has been sick for 15 years, or however how long she's been there.
I think it's only a couple of years, right?
Yeah, it's only a couple.
It's like 2 or 3 years because in this one, Aunt May does say something like, "I remember." Sometimes I think he's still here, but that was but now I realize it's like 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah, it's not that long. Like
that.
Yeah, but still, the kid could have got help. No one's helping this poor kid.
No.
For years and years later. Daddy had to go to prison first, and then escape.
By the way, do you guys remember the sandcastle scene?
Sandcastle.
I don't remember this at all.
I think that's an extended one. I didn't watch the extended one this time, but I have watched it in the past.
I accidentally watched the extended cut and didn't realize. And I watched the scene and I'm like, I don't remember this.
That's an extended cut one.
So there's a scene where like fucking his daughter and his wife are like in a park and they're talking, and then there's like a sandcastle that forms, and then the daughter goes to like touch the castle, like she's like, oh look, it's a sandcastle, like, oh, I'm a kid, I'm gonna go play with it, and then she just kind of like goes away. She like sees that it's a sandcastle, and then the mother calls her back, and then all of a sudden, next shot is Flint Marko there, and then gone. It makes no sense. It does nothing. There's nothing that happens in that scene.
So he wanted his daughter up in him?
No, not like
No, whoa.
No, I don't know. It was very weird.
If he's pretending to be a sandcastle, I'm just saying.
Well, it wasn't like an Enter the Sandcastle.
That's a little creepy. It's a little creepy.
So, talking about Sandman again and how he becomes the Sandman, I want to point out that, again, talking about the tone of this movie and the weird back and forth tones within the movie, like, this is the most comic book villain we've had. Like, so Green Goblin, who in the comic books, the guy who puts on spandex and flies around, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he is in a mech suit. Okay, makes sense. Dr. Octopus has this, I don't even remember what the thing is in the comic. I got to read the comic book, which I will by next week, but the original one. But like, this is, my point is it's a more realistic version of these villains. Mm-hmm. And in this, it's just like, oh, we're going to drop this guy into the quantum accelerator in a sand and turn him into the, and it just like, it doesn't track as realistic as the other ones. Not that the other ones are realistic, but the other ones tried to put in an element of believability and realism that for some reason this movie doesn't. And I also think that's part of why the movie suffers.
I could agree with that, but I also think that as a fan, getting to see the Sandman as the comics accurate Sandman, I thought was really cool. Because I think he looks great in this. I think the CGI works really well. He looks cool.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. I think if the writing was better, it could have worked.
Yes,
but because I agree with you. Like, I don't need nor do I want like, oh, I've got a Sandman suit. Like, I'm great with just Thomas Hayden Church in the Sandman sweater, which I own one and I wear just for fun, by the way. Nice. I think I'm with you. I'm the comics accurate, I think, is awesome. But I just think that it's again, like, if the tone was going to be, we have comics accurate Sandman, then I shouldn't be seeing darker stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you either give me dark Peter Parker who's like abusing Mary Jane, or you give me lighthearted Sandman, but I don't want both in the same movie.
I can see that. So then I guess let's discuss the other villain.
Oh, wait, I got one. I'm sorry. I just got to put Alex's thing, and this is the last one. He also wanted to say that what he really liked about it was the Sandman's tragedy, that you're supposed to think the Sandman just some punk who like murdered Uncle Ben, and you find out that he has this like tragic backstory and has reasons for what he had done. So I also do like that about the Sandman, but I had promised I'd get Alex's points out, and I did.
Yeah,
you didn't either go the Uncle Ben route though. Yeah, sick daughter. I understand.
Sick daughter, absolutely. Uncle Ben
route, no.
Yeah, if you're going to include the Uncle Ben route, then
you even brought the actor back who played Uncle Ben. He looked like he was 30 years older than the first one. That poor guy.
That poor guy was like, why'd you take me out of the home? I was tired.
Oh, God.
Look, better way to do this is that Sandman is manipulated by Harry Osborn as the Goblin persona. Mm-hmm. And Harry says, look, you helped me kill Spider-Man. I saved your daughter. He's not a villain. You put a gun to my head and say you kill this guy or I kill your son. I'm killing whoever you ever want me to kill. You know what I mean? So you have the believability. You can still have the forgiveness route. Again, you could have done what they wanted to do with better choices.
Yeah, and again, it's once again the common theme throughout this film. I guess let's talk about Venom, who's never referred to as Venom at any point in this film. Basically has no personality. It's just Eddie Brock, who's not very Eddie Brock whatsoever. No. He has this weird. His connection to Gwen Stacy is very confusing.
He's totally
like
he's a liar.
He's kind of like Tim. What was his character's name on that '70s show? Shit. Besides when I just say Butthead or something like that.
It wasn't Kelso. Kelso was
dumbass.
The other one.
Dumbass. Yeah, sorry.
Foreman. Eric Foreman.
Eric Foreman. He kind of is basically like Eric Foreman in this film.
Yeah.
And his connection with Gwen Stacy to trigger things to why his motivations almost do anything, why he goes to church and asks God to kill Peter Parker, doesn't really add up. Like they went out one night,
Wait,
and
basically he's
that
a
was it.
stalker. Basically, he was a stalker.
Yeah, you never went to church to pray for the death of one of your enemies to impress a girl you took out on a date once, who you think you're dating, and she doesn't want to see you again. You've never. I'm the only one here who's done this.
I mean, I thought about it. I mean, but, no, I don't understand that whole story. Just is dumb.
And he just shows up. I want to point out that he literally shows up out of nowhere.
Yes.
It's the scene where like the crane, and by the way, I also wanted to say Spidey's New York is still a dystopian hellscape because I've lived in New York for 42 years, going on 43. I think I'm 43. I forget. The pandemic erased a year from my memory. But I've never actually seen a crane go so awry and crazy that it's wiped out buildings. Like I've only ever seen buildings wiped out once, and that's not something we're going to talk about. But so the fact that Spider-Man just has to go and save people on the regular because wacky cranes are killing people, it's like this is a hellscape. But he goes to save them from the hellscape, and Eddie Brock just shows up, and he goes to Gwen Stacy's dad, like, and he's got his camera, and he's like, she's hanging there. Who are you? I'm kind of dating your daughter, sir. It's like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
What are you doing, man? This is the worst. I can't believe that I'm actually going to say this, but after watching this again, I have more appreciation for the Venom character in the Venom movies.
Of course, he's way better than this crap that we got.
Because he's actually kind of Venom.
and real quick though, are we going to forget that they had to make Gwen Stacy a model / genius?
Yeah, what you've
we're
never met the model scientist?
We're going to get to Gwen Stacy next. I
was
going to talk about Venom before.
Oh,
no.
Get to the
There's no way we're letting Gwen Stacy get out of it because that was absurd. But Venom, even though there's not that much to dissect with this guy because he literally shows up out of nowhere, pops in and out of the movie with virtually no motivation. You don't understand what he's really trying to do. And then he gets the symbiote in a scene when after Peter backhands Mary Jane.
Which I do want to say, coolest scene in the movie.
Yes, it is a cool scene.
The scene in the trailer that got me super excited because I remember, you lent me that comic that goes through the Venom arc, this arc that they were borrowing from, and I remember being so struck by the imagery of Peter going to the clock tower and the bell, and I remember watching the trailer for this, going, the bell, so it's a great scene. In a not great movie. I just want to point that out. I got to point out the love where I can for this movie.
It looks great, besides the fact that Peter has to go swing around town naked after that and get home because he absolutely has no clothes on. And they don't say that the Venom suit comes off of his suit, so he should technically have a red and blue suit just there. It somehow just goes. That part makes no sense. But I agree. The visual, the church bells, and all of that looks great.
And even Eric Foreman getting the suit, it dripping on him and taking over him. I think, again, that's Sam Raimi doing what Sam Raimi does best. That's a horror scene.
And and again, though, I still don't think it's as great as the other two movies where we see a lot of horror elements. Actually, I think that's what this movie doesn't have is Sam Raimi's trademark horror stuff, hardly at all.
I think you only see it in this scene. That's really it.
So the suit gets transferred, and then he's just kind of walking around Manhattan. He has fangs for no reason whatsoever, as Eric Foreman has fangs.
That's so stupid.
He runs into fucking Flint Marko in an alley.
Oh, that's the
Flint
best.
Marko thinks he's Spider-Man, and then they have a conversation. Hey, you hate him. I hate him. Let's go kill him. Sure, let's do it.
What? Yeah, it's I felt was I watching Batman 4 here? You know what I mean? The
There's
one with Mr. Freeze.
There are elements that reminded me of Batman and Robin. And I can't believe I actually just said that. It happened. It definitely happened.
No, it's true though.
And his whole thing when he's talking with Peter at the end, and he's like, my Spider-Man sense is tingling, if you know what I mean. Actually, I don't.
I don't. No, is that a sexual innuendo? Because I've never heard it used that before.
For that. If I was Peter, I'm like, no, actually, I don't. Tell me, what's up? What's your Spider sense tingling?
And the non-comic book fan needs that little explanation that the symbiote transferred Peter's memories into Eddie Brock.
Yes, you know that, yeah. But
Yeah, we
That's
know
a good
that.
point.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
The
because
swinging
I
and
just
stuff
assumed
like that. Yeah. The swinging
like-
around and all of that. And yeah, you're right. And they never communicate that really at all in this film.
So if you're not really a comic book fan, you're like, well, how does he know all of a sudden that MJ is with Peter and Peter's this guy and that? No, that's something you should really mention.
And then the whole screeching Venom is just annoying. Every 5 seconds.
And
It's just it's so bad.
And it was really funny is that when I watched Venom with the one with the last one, what's his face? I forget his name now, but
Somehow.
Bane. Yeah, thank you. So when I watched that one, I went, I don't understand why Venom's so jacked because Tom Hardy isn't. And the whole point in the comic was that it was a suit and Eddie Brock was jacked, right? And then I watched this and I went, oh, that's what Venom looks like when he's not jacked. He looks like Venom Babies or Venom Jr. You know, it's like, no, I now get why they made Venom jacked and Tom Hardy isn't, because he looks ridiculous when he's small.
It's bad. And this goes into like interviews I've seen with Sam Raimi over the years when he talks about this character. He's like, yeah, I wanted him to be like, a doppelganger of Peter Parker. That's why he told. But I'm like, but that shows me that you're not really understanding the character like whatsoever.
Right. And we'll get to it, but when we
really
read that article that you sent, he didn't like this character.
No, he
was forced to use this character. His vision was kind of what I said as the Goblin Jr. and Sandman. Like, I don't know what outside of that, but like Venom was
Vulture, right? Wasn't it supposed to be Vulture too?
Vulture was 4.
Well, we'll get to no. Tim is right though. There was
you're right.
It was in the article that he wanted Ben Kingsley to play Vulture in this film, but Sam Raimi actually wrote that out himself. He was like, no. We'll save that for another one. But we'll get to that because we're going to talk briefly about what we know of Spider-Man, the potential Spider-Man 4. But yeah, Venom is just really shoehorned into this movie and really drags it down tremendously. He's annoying.
I remember seeing this movie, and I remember, so at the end, spoilers, Venom is killed, as is Eddie Brock, in a very stupid way, I thought.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it going, oh, how are they going to bring Venom back for the next one? Because I could not comprehend that was all they were doing with this huge character of Venom. Like, that's all you're going to do with him? And then you're going to kill him?
He's in this film because Avi Arad, who's one of the producers on this film, and his fucking man boner for fucking Venom is just, it never ends. He's like obsessed with the character. And it's crazy that he just can't stop. He just won't let him go.
You'd think he'd want it done right. I mean, if I was obsessed with, like, if you told me you're the producer of a Batman, or let's say a villain. Let's say you produce any Batman movie. Here, do your Mr. Freeze movie that you always wanted to do. Yeah. I'm going to be like, oh, you want to do my Mr. Freeze movie? I want 6 scripts. I'm not giving you my Mr. Freeze movie till I know it's going to be good. You know what I mean?
Or Dr. Doom. Like, what would you do with Dr. Doom?
Right. I would, if I were the producer, I wasn't the talent, I wasn't the writer, I wasn't whatever, the director. But if you said I got to choose who got to deal with Dr. Doom, I certainly wouldn't just be going, I love Dr. Doom, so hey, you're doing a Spider-Man movie, shoehorn him in. Hey, you're doing a Blade movie, get Dr. Doom in there. I wouldn't do that. You'd want to give it something good.
Yeah. So there's that, but there's a lot of the side, like Rosemary Harris is great as
fantastic.
Yeah, as Aunt May again.
Actually,
J.K. Simmons does his thing again as J. Jonah Jameson.
I want to point out 2 great scenes from those two. One with Aunt May, where she's like thinking about Uncle Ben and crying, and she's like in the bathrobe and her hair's down. Like, I'm watching that going, wow, this woman is a great actress. Like,
no, she's
I don't
awesome.
even question her as Aunt May. I don't even think about her as a human being outside of Aunt May. That's how good she is for me.
But either one of them don't get a lot to do in this movie. They're sidelined for the most part.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
But unfortunately, the person that we got was Gwen Stacy. Like, why the fuck is she in this movie? Like, why? And the thing is, like, I get you needed to have, the idea was to have Peter, be stray off a little bit, and you had to do something with that. Why not get Black Cat in this film then? And I know we'll talk about the 4th one in a second, but like, that's literally what happens in the comics.
But that's it.
Is Black Cat would have been the person. You're gonna go back to Peter's original girlfriend who he does have this whole tragic history with, and bring her in now after the fact to basically just use her as a tool, a plot device, to get MJ upset.
And don't forget, we watched them play out the death of Gwen Stacy in the first. So it's like, you're right. What are you doing with this? Just make a Black Cat. Do everything. You don't even have to make a Black Cat. Make it whatever the hell Black Cat's real name is. I forget her name.
Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Hardy. Thank you. I was thinking Selena Kyle for obvious reasons, but
I get it.
Make it Felicia Hardy. Never make her the Black Cat. Just make her a character that Peter knows and has this sort of chemistry with, and it causes the issues between him and Mary Jane. Literally, if they just named her Felicia Hardy and kept her the way she is, I wouldn't have had that big of a problem with it. As much as I would have been like, well, it's not the Black Cat. It's certainly better than it being Gwen Stacy, his supposedly dead girlfriend from high school, who now is Dr. Model, scientist model who has a stalker. Like, what's going on with this?
Dr. Model, Eddie Brock's pretend girlfriend's daughter of Commissioner Stacy. It's like there's too much going on here.
They took her and plugged her into everything. Like, wait, plot device.
Yes,
plot device. How do we get everything to connect? Oh, let's use Gwen Stacy.
She's in Peter's class. She's dating Peter's enemy. She's the daughter of a cop. She's a model for some stranger. It's like, dude, stop already. This is too much.
It's pretty brutal. And honestly, what we just talked about, Gwen Stacy, encompasses exactly all this movie. It just has way too much going on. It collapses on top of itself, and it doesn't know what the hell it's doing. It's just all over.
I do want to go give Gwen Stacy some credit, though. Class act, when she realizes that Peter's just trying to screw around Mary Jane. She walks up to Mary Jane and goes, "I'm sorry," and leaves.
Yeah.
I give credit, again, don't want it to be Gwen Stacy, but I give credit to the character there. Class act.
And never to be heard from again, by the way, after that scene. Never is mentioned again.
Well, why would you need to? She served her purpose to make Mary Jane jealous, right? That was her purpose.
Exactly. My problem is, too, it's too soon. I mean, like you said, Black Cat's one thing, because that she kind of flirts with Spider-Man just as much as, but to have someone with Peter, to me, makes no sense, because like I said, he wanted this woman for his whole life. He has her.
Yeah.
He has everything he's ever wanted. Now, all of a sudden, the commissioner's daughter, model scientist, is going to come in and mess that up? No.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
No, Tim, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that there shouldn't have been, that whole idea should have been shelved. But if you were hell bent on having someone
definitely Black
Peter
Cat
straight off, Black Cat was the logical choice.
Yeah, because it makes sense because she knows Spider-Man, Peter's Spider-Man. So she knows that Black Cat's flirting with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like, got a little boner in his pajamas. And he's like, oh, who's this chick? And with the white hair who's getting my man all excited. So that makes sense. The random blonde chick does not make any sense.
No, it's pretty brutal. But a lot of the problems with this film are pretty much tied up to issues that the studio was forcing shit on Sam Raimi over and over again. He didn't, again, he's 60s, 70s Spider-Man fan. Venom is way after. He shows.
Yeah, it's 90s.
Yeah, he shows in this movie that he has no concept of Venom, doesn't executes it piss poorly, and that comes through. But you could see how the execution of Flint Marko is so much better. And you can tell he has that. The idea of the Gwen Stacy stuff is weird because as someone who's a fan of Spider-Man from back in the 60s and 70s, you would know that Gwen Stacy was the girlfriend, the original girlfriend. You should have just ran with that.
Yeah.
And that's still why I say that these movies should have started with Gwen Stacy and then elevated to MJ sooner or later. And Tim and I have said forever, if you you had to do the black costume, he should have had the black costume this entire film, and the church bell scene should have been the end of the movie.
Absolutely.
And set up Spider-Man versus Venom for the fourth movie.
Yep. I have said that the same thing. If you wanted Venom and you wanted the black suit in this movie, fine. Find a good way to have him get the black suit.
And four should have been Venom and only Venom.
Yep,
yes,
agreed.
That's it.
And then you give me a taste of Venom at the end when Eddie Brock gets the suit, and then you don't give me anything until the fourth movie. And then, as you said, Tim, only Venom.
The movie could have ended with Venom jumping at the screen like he does, and that could have been the end of the movie. You could have had it to be continued if you wanted to, and make it a two-parter. That's what I would have done.
Now, I do want to point out something. Remember what I said before about if I were Harry Osborn, I wanted to kill Peter Parker, I'd just show up on his doorstep, pretend to be drunk, and shiv him. If I were Venom, and I had all of Peter Parker's memories, which means I knew where he lived, I knew when he slept, I knew how to get in his window because I did that with him plenty of times when I was his suit.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I bother wasting time like recruiting the Sandman and kidnapping MJ? Why wouldn't I just quietly sneak into his room while he's asleep and murder him? Like, if that's really what I wanted to do, why the whole MJ thing and why the Sandman?
It's true.
Yeah. It's not the best. It's villain planning, is what we'll just call it that.
Yes, I like that.
So I guess pretty much with Spider-Man 3, that kind of does it for that. And we just wanted to talk a little bit out of...
Wait, can I say one more thing, though? One more thing?
Right.
This set up the thing that bugs me the most about the next two films, which we know were just garbage anyway. But this movie started the spontaneous police barrier where they let ordinary citizens watch superpowered beings fight behind police barriers. What? With that English reporter. Oh, this is so brutal. Are you fucking kidding me?
Why is he giving the play-by-play?
If I'm the NYPD, there's not a person within 5 blocks of that goddamn thing. But no. We set up barriers. And then the next one, what happens? Barriers to where the point where a little kid goes under a barrier and tries to stare down Rhino. It's like,
oh, good. Does that happen? I still haven't seen that movie yet.
I'm sorry I spoiled that for you, but yes, that happens.
I'm waiting to the last possible second when I have to watch it for this show.
I apologize for ruining that special moment for you. But yeah, this begins the spontaneous. We're gonna have a superpower. Just picture the Avengers. The very first Avengers where the ships are coming down and the cops like, we got to set up a barrier around Avengers Tower so people can watch. It's like, no, idiot. You got to have people
so people can watch.
Out the city.
Yeah.
Instead of clearing the city out, we're going to have to set up a couple barriers and people watch the fight from the bottom. No, idiot. Get the hell out. There's a giant sand monster. People are like, dude. I'm watching that from fucking 15 blocks away on a TV in a bar somewhere going, dude, that's a giant sand monster right there. I'm out of here. So yeah, this movie brings on that little nugget, which happens in the next 2 movies. So you'll see that, Jason, when you're ready.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited.
I shared an article on our Facebook page today. You can check it out from Collider from early last year that they decided to rehash it. But there was talk that there was going to be a Spider-Man 4. It was ready to go. It was supposed to get released, and it had a release date. It was supposed to come out in 2011, and they were going to be ready to go. And then all of a sudden, it got scrapped because the studio, Sam Raimi, was trying to make his film. The studio hired a writer, and then there were multiple rewrites, and then they couldn't just get the script right. So Raimi was like, because he was disappointed with the third film, he backed out. Pretty much, and they were like, all right, well, if Remy's gone, we're going to reboot then. That's it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. And they had the same guy who wrote Spider-Man 4 also simultaneously write a reboot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like really some shady shit, to be honest.
It's weird. Like, so I read that article, and like Raimi says he was like, I couldn't get it to where I wanted it. I wanted it to be the best of the franchise, but it wasn't. I couldn't get it to where I wanted it. So I said, make the reboot you wanted to make. I don't want to waste your time. And they said, thanks for not wasting our time. So that was his version. But then, yeah, you're right. They already had all of that in the making. So like after he said he didn't want to do it, it was like, okay, well, we're coming out with this reboot. So I don't know. Like, I don't know if I believe that story.
It sounds like Sam Raimi was probably trying to be really nice about it and kind of just like was taking the high road and stuff. But I'm pretty sure they were probably jamming more stuff on him again.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a great experience making the third film.
Yeah.
So he decided, I don't want to go through this shit again. And I know the details that we did get from this, though, was that John Malkovich was set to play the Vulture.
Which I think he'd be a great Vulture. Like, as much as I love what we got with Michael Keaton, obviously.
Yeah, no, Michael Keaton crushes it.
He's fantastic. But
he would have been a real Vulture with the wings and all that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
No, we got a much very different Vulture.
Very different and great, and I loved it. But I kind of would love to see John Malkovich like as the comics accurate Vulture. I'm kind of curious what that would have looked like.
Yeah, no, me too. And I can kind of somewhat picture it, and it sounds pretty cool. And I like the fact that Raimi was trying to go back to OG Spider-Man 60s, 70s, and go back to that. You could tell where he was going. And Anne Hathaway was kind of lined up to be Black Cat.
Which is funny.
Who, ironically, was Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises. So she still got to be the characters that people associate together with Black Cat and Catwoman in different universes. So that was pretty cool.
I do want to say that I do find one thing strange that I read in that article is that Raimi really wanted to do, as we said, what was it, the Vulture, and the studio wanted him to do the Lizard.
Yes.
And I thought he was like leading us up to the Lizard. He's had that character in it from the very beginning. Like, I'm surprised that was something that he was like, because that's kind of part of why he went, nah, I can't, So it's like, I'm surprised. I thought he was leading up to the Lizard. I thought that was like ultimately what he was sort of leading us to.
Yeah, I mean, the breadcrumbs were there, set for 3 straight movies about Dr. Connors being there, missing a limb and everything. Like, it was all there, and I was kind of waiting to see the Lizard too at that point. We know Tim was dying to see the Lizard on live screen.
The lab coat.
The lab coat and a purple pants.
Just the lab coat.
But yeah, no, Jason, I agree with you, though. I would have liked to have seen the Lizard in it. If you want to throw 2 villains, Lizard and Vulture, you could have had, Felicia Hardy introduced a little bit, and since you already wasted Venom, and, by the way, and you would have had to follow up where the hell Flint Marko went, because he just, and then that's it. He's just roaming around aimlessly.
Wherever there's a beach, there will be Flint Marko.
He's on Baywatch. He's on Baywatch nights.
He's on Baywatch. Yes.
As the sand. As the sand.
You're right. He's the sand. That's the crossover.
It was right in front of our faces, and we just totally missed it. So after Spider-Man 3, though, I guess because that's really all the information that we really have on the proposed Spider-Man 4, but it was in pre-production and it was like ready to go. They had Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst lined up, and they were ready to come back. Then they pull the plug once Raimi's gone, and then we get the next 2 movies that we're gonna we're gonna talk about next week. We'll talk about The Amazing Spider-Man.
That's the first time.
Yes, I know. Yes,
that's the first time I've ever heard you actually call it by its name.
I'm trying to be a little professional here, a little bit. Because it's not going to get professional next week. I'm not going to be able to hold it back that long.
I looked for things to love about this movie, and I found some. I'm under no obligation to do that next week.
The knives are getting sharpened again for next week's show. But Tim, after we just really did a super deep dive into Spider-Man 3, would you have wanted to see a Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi, or you kind of maybe glad we didn't get it? Now, remember, take out what ends up happening with the Andrew Garfield movies. Would you have been like, something, he had a bad day? And this is interesting, Tim, because we were talking about this on the Facebook page inadvertently, right? Wonder Woman, we know you don't like the Wonder Woman movies, but, Patty Jenkins is doing Rogue Squadron. You're a massive Star Wars guy, so you're excited to see that you want her to do great. But you don't like Wonder Woman 84, right? Like, it's a total shit show. Mm-hmm. So, would you still want to see Sam Raimi after crushing it twice and then having a really, really bad day at the office with Spider-Man 3? Would you have would you give him another chance?
Yes, I would have given him another chance.
Okay.
Especially with someone like Malkovich playing Vulture, or and then you bring in Lizard or something like that. Absolutely. One movie. Look, for me, the Wonder Woman is 2 bad movies. I don't like either one of them. I know I'm in the minority of the first one. But that second one crushed my dreams as far as Rogue Squadron goes. So I pray she gets her shit together. But no, Raimi, I definitely would have liked to see the 4th one, especially considering where it went with the next one.
Well, try to forget that. Forget what you know about Amazing Spider-Man. Just coming off of Spider-Man 3.
No, I would have given it another shot. I would definitely give it another shot. Definitely, yeah. Why not?
Yeah, because I like his other. I love the Evil Dead movies, like all of them, and I love the show Ash vs.
And one and two are classics, so why wouldn't you give him a shot? Especially once. Now you talk about do I know the story of the studio forced Venom down his throat? if I heard that, I definitely want to see him do 4 and get to redeem himself.
I agree with that. That's why I would have personally liked to have seen Sam Raimi get another shot. And I think that's what his thing was, is that he really, really wanted to redeem himself because he hated Spider-Man 3 as well. Mm-hmm. And he wanted this to be his redemption. But I'm like Jason was alluding to before, and I think that's probably the real story, is that he probably sensed the studio shit coming down again. They were trying to like force shit on him. And he was like, fuck this. I'm not doing it again. I'm not going to make 2 bad ones in a row. And try to deal with this crap. I'll go do Drag Me to Hell, and that'll be that. Jason, would you have wanted to see Sam Raimi get another shot?
If he got to make the decisions, like
Agreed.
If it was going to be another like the studio gets to dictate, no, then why bother? No. Because I saw what that is, and that was this. But I also got to see twice when he got to make the decisions, and it was fantastic. So if they gave him complete control. And I got to see, and he was happy with what he did, because the article does say he was never really happy with what he had with 4. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But with full creative control, if he's happy with what he has, absolutely, I'm all in for it. If there's studio interference, then I look, I'd see it, but I see all these movies, mostly the ones I don't like,
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, listen, whatever. I would have been there first night and hyped up, and that would have been that.
Well, look how many times that's come into play, though, as far as the studio. I mean, DC is a perfect example of Warner Bros. Yeah. DC, the studio interfering, and people just like, dude, fuck it, I'm out. I mean, even Kevin Smith was supposed to direct Green Hornet, and they threw so much shit on him. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not used to all these people. I have to spend your money. That means I have to listen to what you have to say. I don't want to do a movie that way. I want to do a movie my way. And they said, and then Affleck with I'm not doing. He was supposed to be the director of Batman. They gave him all these directives. He's like, I'm not doing your bullshit. This is my shit. My script is probably better than anything you have. I want to do my movie. Nope. Okay, so I'm out. Fuck it, I'm out. So I definitely would have given Raimi another shot.
Yeah, no, I would have loved to have seen that. And I mean, listen, guys, we live in a world right now. Who the hell knows what's possible? You know what I mean? Like, who the hell knows? Maybe he goes ahead and crushes it with. I have no doubt he'll crush it with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I'm glad to see him coming back doing another Marvel film, even though technically we know Spider-Man was a Sony production.
And I'm glad that he's in the MCU. I always like directors and actors that I really like and appreciate their work. I always like when they get to cash in that sweet, sweet MCU money. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to see him here.
And they're fans. He's a fan, which is
and he's better. A fan. Exactly.
Of a specific era of Spider-Man, but I think nonetheless a fan, and I think you could see his love in the first 2 films.
100%.
Like it comes through on screen. Then in the third one, we get the clusterfuck that we got.
Because even the changes he makes, like the Goblin suit and stuff like that, it's all stuff that fans, super fans like you and I go, yeah, that makes sense. I'm not going to complain about that. You know what I mean?
Speaking of, Jason, that's actually a good point, because there's one thing we didn't talk about, which before we wrap this up, I wanted to. The web fluid. No web shooters. As a fan, I didn't give a flying fuck, honestly.
Care.
It didn't bother me. Some people lose, they jump off the house about it. I didn't. I never did. I didn't care.
I'll be honest with you. I never understood why he had web shooters in the comic, and it wasn't just part of his powers. Like, I guess it's to show how brilliant he is, but that always struck me as something that should be part of his innate powers, but it was weird it wasn't. So the fact that they made it, I was like, yeah, that's fine. Because do I really need a scene explaining how he makes these things? No, and we'll get to that next week.
Yeah, I would. It didn't bother me. I didn't blink and bat an eye at it. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. Who cares? Tim, did you ever care? No,
I didn't care. It was fine with me. I mean, I don't want it to become a factor like with these new ones. Like, oh shit, I'm out of webs. Oh, here we go. He's out of webs. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me when it happens once or twice. But I don't want to see it happen every 3 minutes. Oh, I'm out of webs. I'm out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It happens in the comics a lot.
It happens.
Factors into fights. But in the movies, I don't think we really need it in the movies, like you were saying, like constantly. I don't need it happening in like 3 fights in a movie. It happens 2 out of 3 times.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't need to see that. Yeah. Whatever.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's just something we didn't touch on.
I like both. I like both. Both.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the fact that Peter made the web fluid, makes the web shooters, and I also like the fact that it was kind of mutant power. So it's cool.
Yeah. Either way, I was good with. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up tonight's episode. So next week we will be getting to the Mark Webb Spider-Man films. Since the Raimi era is over, we'll get to his 2 fiascos, which I lovingly refer to as the Unamazing Spider-Sham.
God.
Because that's exactly what it actually is.
Guys, I think I'm coming down with a flu for the next 2 weeks.
So
you guys carry on without me.
No, Jason, I am really, really, genuinely, really looking forward to your response to the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I am actually,
you're gonna lose your mind.
Like that's gonna be like. So, I used to do a podcast about somewhere else about bad movies, and you guys have seen a little bit of that when we talk about movies. But I think when we get to Spider-Man 2, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think full force I'm just going to rip the shit out of that movie. Like, honestly, I don't think I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know if I'll find anything good about it.
I'm telling you right now, the only good thing is the costume. The costume is no pun intended. It is spectacular.
That's what my friend Walter, who's going to be, he's like a Miles Morales expert. He's going to be coming on for Into the Spider-Verse, which we discussed last week. Yeah. But he actually told me that that's his opinion too. He thinks the best part of that movie, Spider-Man 2, is the fact that he has probably the best costume of all the Spider-Men, like up to that point.
Up to that point, no, absolutely, and I really like the Sam Raimi costume, but that costume in the second one really is something else. But all right, well, actually, no, it's actually next week we're doing the Amazing Spider-Man. Then we're gonna do we're gonna do Eternals,
right?
And then we're gonna get to the Unamazing Spider-Sham 2.
All right, so I got some time.
You got some time to breathe and to think about it and take it in.
Take it in.
All right, so thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it as always. Tim, thanks for joining us.
The streak lives.
Keeping the streak alive.
Yeah,
the streaker.
Baby. 14, baby.
The streaker.
14 and counting.
So we'll be back next week, and we'll be talking about the Amazing Spider-Man. If you want to catch Tim's got his shows going on. You got the Just Too Sweet show, usually on Tuesday nights. You guys will be on next Tuesday night as well, I'm assuming. Yep. You got a tease for that?
We're starting to do wrestler spotlights. Well, we will pick a different wrestler every week and do a whole spotlight about him. Nice. And then we're going to bring back our favorite. We're going to pick a ridiculous pay-per-view from back in the day and dissect it and make fun of it. That's going to be Tuesday.
That's
nice.
Awesome.
Sorry. So when you get to the Great American Bash, like 94, I don't know. I just pulled it out of my ass.
I'll do last year we did all the Halloween Havocs during this time Halloween, and it was probably the best show we've ever done because it was a shit show and it's hysterical. So go back and watch that one if you can. It's pretty funny.
That's great. So you also, if you want to check out Tim, he's also talking about football. If you're into the Giants, he's got We Stomped You Out. And he's also got Unsportsmanlike Conduct as well, which was on right before us tonight. So check out that new episode as well. Still don't know where Jada and Kyle are, so hopefully. Was their 50th episode like their last episode?
It was their swan song, I guess.
I guess that was it. They were like, yeah, 50, we're done. Out.
They're out.
Down, lights out. I don't know. Well, hopefully they'll be back at some point too. I mess around with Jada and I Facebook message him. So I messaged him earlier, Evil dies tonight. I was just like dying laughing. Like it's so ridiculous. So you can go ahead and you'll find them at some point. You got Eric, who's Tim's partner on Just Too Sweet show. He does A to Z, so you can check him out every week as he covers everything from A to Z. And we'll see everyone next week. All right, take it easy, stay safe, and happy Halloween. Enjoy your Halloweens, everybody.
Happy Halloween. Be safe. I hear they're putting Superman 4 in candy bars out there. Be careful.
Watch out, because you might get a Superman 4. Tim, I got you. Don't worry about it.
I want two of them. I want two copies. One to shit on and one to cover it up with.
I know Tim wanted this, so we had to we'll close it out with it.